All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fights, except it's this week's fights. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from the upcoming UFC Fight Night. Xiong versus Figueiredo. To do all of that, predict it all with me, as always, the man, myth, and legend, the Ohio player, the man who puts the Mac in Macau, Mr. Chase Barton. How are you, brother?
I am very, very good. It is Monday. We get to talk about fights. We didn't get to see fights from Saturday, so it is unfortunate that we don't have a whole first portion of our show, but I think there'll be some good stuff that we get to talk about, and I'm very excited.
Oh, well, I mean, we certainly got to see fights, just not in the UFC. Good
Correct.
Lord. We'll talk about some of that, of course. But yes, we will be doing our predictions. We did not have UFC last weekend. So this will all be for the upcoming UFC Macau card. Keep in mind, everybody who is out there, if you are going to be watching these fights, the start time is very early in the morning. It's a 4 a.m. start if you want to watch the prelims. So be prepared for that. But yeah, so I mean, of course, since we did not have UFC, we will not be doing any of our normal breakdowns. We have more in-depth predictions, analysis, and all of that. We'll get into that in just a few minutes. What else besides UFC, since we did not have that, did you watch, Chase?
I I did not keep up live in the moment, but I will say that I did watch the brand risk clips that went around, and to actually before we get into that, I did rewatch UFC BJJ. Nothing really to point out about that.
Uh-huh.
Fun time. So either way, brand risk. Now I know what we're going to talk about. I did see some clips. So let me maybe do you want to start with anything in particular, or do you want to just go down by what I had witnessed on the clips
Why,
here?
why don't you just pick out some of those things? And I guess okay. Well, just before that, because I'm sure you're going to be just talking about the MMA.
Yes.
I will say that I watched the full event. We did a watch along of it. It was not the circus that I was expecting. I thought that they had the boxing portion in the beginning, and then it went to MMA after that. The boxing was your standard mid-level decent boxing. I thought that the boxing was pretty just standard, like it was not terrible. It was not influencers either. I think it was just like, they do it with a lot of these cards now where you'll have influencers on it, but then actual boxers just looking for a fight, they put that on there as well. Shout out to all of the boxers. We actually had a really nice knockout in the first fight. After that, it kind of was just your standard boxing fare. So I did want to say, like, as much as like there are goofable things on this card for sure, and there's plenty, and I'm sure you'll mention them. The core of it was fine. Like this was not a like oh my God, this is the worst thing I've ever seen event. As far as the actual like fighting went for the people who were taking it seriously. Then you get into the influencers portion, and things were a little bit different perhaps, but even that was not the worst I've ever seen. So I want to at least preface it with that.
Okay. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad that you had a decent time. Everybody, and a lot of people are making the comments of like, why are Dana and Hunter, indulging in this? They were just talking about Ronda and Gina.
Mm-hmm.
I do respect the fact that it's not trying to be a legitimate like MMA portion of a card. Like it is just goofballs going out there, and
Yeah.
whatever happens kind of deal. And it is it is dumb. I unfortunately like it is entertaining to the point like that these are washed people that are looking for any opportunity to get their name in the spotlight kind of deal. Like they just
Of
need
course.
one big knockout, like kind of deal. This is the Rocky moment. And a lot of people in here took it different ways. There was a lot of different things going on here. So I just think that's very interesting.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, like that part of it, I guess, was to be expected. I mean, even with that, sometimes you'll get at least a little bit more like active competition in these fights. There was maybe a few instances of that, but overall, like some of these fights were pretty quick and just as kind of bad as you would expect them to be.
Here's my thing, and I'm really hoping to do justice to martial arts here because I think this needs to be said. I do not prefer this newer style of martial arts where it's the code of where people are going with it. The average consumer is like learn a few mixed martial arts moves and then go out and talk shit that you'll beat up everybody and anybody or whatever. And like this is
Sure.
all this promotion has become. It's like I know martial arts for 2 months. I trained with Jordan Leviat, I will talk about these people, there that does n martial arts should be a little more, you gotta be more respectful is what I believe personally. It's competition. You gotta see who the best one, mano a mano, who's got the skills to be the best, at any given moment, who's going to be, the best. And I that is not what we were going to get here. But in the matchups themselves, you definitely there are fighters who wanted it more than the others, I would say. And I
Well,
thought
and I guess that's what I would respond to it with is it's like, yeah, I mean, it was not like people going out and doing like full camps and really like honestly, like because I followed some of the influencer stuff in other areas and like there was that creator clash for a little while that I think the
mhm,
iDubbbz guy was doing for a minute. Some of those guys apparently were taking it pretty seriously. There's that guy, I forget what his actual name is, but the dude, Keith Apicary, he goes by Dad now. He's the balding guy, whatever, with the mustache. Apparently he was like in like super good shape and like like taking the camp really seriously and stuff. My point of bringing it up is that like there have been influencer events like this where like the people have taken it really really seriously in the past. So it's not like across the board that you can't. But what I would say in even in this instance is it's like two people are going to fight one way or another and one person is going to win whether or not they are like an actual martial artist at this point. Definitely no. But again, one if both guys are coming in at a similar level, then it really is about who wants it more, and we certainly saw that on display.
yeah, and so that's gonna carry us into the fights. Actually, before we do that, chat, I saw you. I didn't forget you, but we
Of
had to
course.
get a good segue here. So obviously, Meat Rocket was first. I had to mention that. John Dong, and that's it. Oh, Ram, good timing. Wow, CM Punk took it too seriously. Oh my goodness. Yeah, true.
Yeah, well, I think I brought him up on the when we were talking about something when it came to that. But no, what I wanted to say though, before we get too deep into any of this other stuff, is that I did feel like I let the chat down because we did have PFL, which apparently was a pretty decent event out there in Brussels that we did not watch, and we also had the Usyk versus Rico fight, which of course had a very controversial ending to it, which we also did not watch. So instead of watching like actual combat sports, oh, and also Deep was on as well, and that was the one that really hurt my feelings. I was like, oh my god, you mean to tell me that Deep was on while I'm watching this shit? I'm watching this shit when I could be watching Deep right now. That was killing me. But yeah, this will not be a regular thing around here, influencer MMA. I had to see it at least one time, but overall, I mean, it was yeah, we should have been watching like actual combat sports for sure.
I feel you, but without further ado, I mean, we will definitely touch on some other things, but I would like to know about the first matchup, at least from my point of view, talking about the ones that I cared about least to the ones that I cared about. So, Titty Diddy versus No Neck. How did this one go?
Yo, that's a great example of one guy actually wanting it more than the other and like making it happen. That no neck guy, man, he really came out to win that fight. Shout out to
Really?
him.
It
Yeah.
wasn't. Wait. Oh, I actually.
I mean,
Okay.
it
I'm
was
so.
not a
I'm
great no, I mean, it was two lobby dudes. I mean, like,
right. Right.
definitely a
But
blogfest, but
the
yeah,
fact
no neck wanted it.
Well, the fact that you had something positive to say about him, that's actually very good because, obviously I expected nothing great, so if you had something like, "Oh, he won," that's pretty good to hear. Like, how'd the fight go? Like, what happened here?
Walrus flopping. That's really what it
No
was.
finish?
But
I mean, I saw a picture of an
I
arm
well,
bar,
it was
wasn't it?
finished by exhaustion. Oh yeah, he
Oh,
tried. Yeah, he tried to go for an armbar. That was actually. Now that you bring that up, though, that is actually something to mention when it came to the oversight of it. This was an ISKA affair. ISKA was the commission, I guess, that was overseeing this. They
mm,
do not care about MMA, so like there was not going to be any actual like rules enforcement, and that was one that actually legitimately bothered me because I forget which one was trying to get the armbar, but whoever it was in the position for an armbar. He wasn't going to get it, but he was in that position, and they actually stood him up. And I was like, you can't stand people up when they're in a potential submission situation. Like that's expressly not supposed to happen. And people are like, oh, well, he wasn't going to get it though. It's like, it doesn't matter. He's in the position for it. He has the potential for it. Like it shouldn't be about the fighters. It should be about the commission knowing that that's the way to handle what that is.
yeah, and what I will say to that point about the commissions, we'll definitely talk about them with a fight, a little later about brand risk, but they're gonna get somebody killed. They're gonna get somebody killed with their lack of care and knowledge for how serious you need to take fighting. Like this more or less is not martial arts, of course. This is
Mhm.
people who think they know martial arts and they have built up aggression that they really want to go in here and try to, figure out. This is just more or less a quote unquote fight. So the people who are the commissions, Isaac, whatever you said, I
Iska, yeah, Iska.
Iska, they're just unfortunately not going to be. Yeah, they're gonna get somebody killed. I mean, these guys are not lethal killers. These do not have hands registered as lethal weapons or whatever you want to say. But it just takes one stupid moment, like one choke being held really, really long. Like somebody actually. No, we'll talk about some other stuff. But
I mean,
but
I got
yeah,
to imagine that they have enough wherewithal to know that, like, for like being, but who knows? I mean, you're right. It's very, I hope, I'm praying that that's the case, right?
I mean, if you want to talk about it, what if Bob Memory just had a heart attack?
He very well might have. He very well might have. I'm amazed he didn't, honestly, the way he came into that fight.
Is that not on the commissions? Like,
Yeah, no, you're right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the testing protocols for any of this stuff is either. I mean, this is, it's Wild West out there, man. In the Apex. That's another reason why I wanted to watch this in the first place. Is like, keep in mind that all of this freak show nonsense was happening in the backyard of the largest MMA promotion, boxing now to an extent promotion on the planet. They're just welcoming all this horse shit in.
and by the way, No Neck moved to 2-0 with that. So shout out to
Shout out
him.
to, he deserves it, man. Like I said, he actually came out to win that fight with no
Okay.
neck at all.
I love it. Now the next one I want to talk about is between the two white trash guys.
Uh,
The two
explain. There are many.
the white guy who dropped the N-word and
Oh
then
gosh, yes,
talked about
that
his
was,
grandma.
yeah, Dom the Troll and Tommy Tough Knuckles. Tommy Tough Knuckles, my favorite name on the card. Yeah, so it was Dom the Troll, I believe, was the dude who dropped the N bomb. That was quite a thing. This was the first MMA fight of the evening, and it was as bad as advertised. Two blobby dudes going in there. It was a very quick fight, and Dom the Troll, he won the fight with, like, by submission without even sinking a choke in. He literally just got him in the position of a submission, and the dude just tapped. So
I
like,
did see that one. I did see. I mean, to be fair, like, and we'll talk about it with another fight. Like one of the fighters who had got submitted on this card, he said getting choked in training and getting choked for real, like that ain't no joke. And I listen. I respect his opinion on that because he is damn right. If somebody is trying to rip your damn head off, like I mean, and now these guys aren't really capable of like a real deadly RNC, whatever you want to say, but like the position that he had him in, he got the body, he got the hooks in there, and then he flipped him over, and he had kind of a little camel clutch going on. Like, I mean, it wasn't
something.
it wasn't the worst thing I've seen, but yeah, he tapped. It looked like a dude who's never been in a submission. And listen, I tapped to the same thing that looked like it fucking hurt for a second, but he probably wasn't going to go unconscious or anything. 9 times out of 10,
I couldn't say. All I know is that it was, he was on his back and he was tapping very quickly, and then
facts.
yeah, Dom the Troll was very excited. He let him go. He yelled out in victory, a word that is rather naughty to say, and then when he was asked about saying that word, he said, "Well, I was excited."
Yeah.
Like, and then he proceeded to cry and shout out his grandmother who just passed away. Very quick sequence that was a little bit goofy if you go point by point.
No, 100%. And this is where I'll bring up not the announcer, but the ringside not commentator.
The interviewer guy. He was like the host of the event, so to speak, I guess you
A-
could say.
And I've seen him before. Like he's like a TikToker, YouTuber kind of guy. Like I mean,
Sure.
I think his content is funny sometimes, but I think if you're going to take on this role, like I mean, I'm not saying he did anything like wrong. He actually kept himself quite composed compared to what it could have been, kind of deal. But like I was listening to your stream, of course, and he was kind of bringing the vibes down. He was kind of fucking the
He
vibes
was
up a
so
lot.
fucking annoying, this guy. I mean, like, it really, because what it was is that, I guess he's a character too. Like you said, he's also a content creator. And like, when you're in a role like that, you have to know when it's appropriate to turn up your own level of, like, make it about me versus like letting it be about the other people. And this guy just didn't have that gauge in his head. So like, he just constantly was like trying to be the jokey guy, like
Mm.
in the center of attention, basically. And it's like, dude, like, there's a time and a place for that. I don't know. He was annoying me a little bit with how he was conducting himself, but there were a couple of funny moments with him. We can talk about some of those when they come up. But Yeah, overall, I mean, I guess it was kind of funny that he was like clowning some of the guys who lost their fights when it came to the MMA stuff, because it's like, yeah, these guys are kind of dorky to be doing this in the first place and then losing spectacularly. So, dunking on him, it did make sense. Not something that I think that maybe you should have done, but if there was a setting where it was appropriate, it certainly would have been here.
Nice. Well, the next one that I want to talk about is the little people.
Okay, this was the best fight of the night, and this actually was, yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, this is the best
No, I'm not.
competition.
I'm not
Huh?
saying I'm not. I wasn't shaking my head at what you said. I agree. This is everybody saying this was the best fight of the night.
Yeah,
Like this was. People are saying that we need little people MMA for a lifetime after this. You know.
I'm one of those people. That's exactly what I said about this. I said, while we're watching it, I was like analyzing the differences that come with, their physiology, with
Hmm.
their anatomy, their makeup, like, and it
Can't be
certainly
armbarred.
it can't be armbarred. Getting chokes is very, very tough as well. I mean, like, like there was one
Their
time
arms
when
are the other person's arms is just too small for it. Like
that's
you know. It's
legitimately it. I mean, there was one time he had him in like a side headlock, and I was like, he can't connect his hands, So it's like there are just differences that made it interesting. But both of these guys, shout out to them, Jeremy Smith and Ryder Warbrick. These guys actually came out to fight. And I appreciated it. It was my first time ever seeing little people in MMA, and I was like, look, man, it's like I think I have a little bit of a different view on this in general. Yeah, they're smaller people, guys. Hilarious, I know. Like, I mean, it's like I think we have a history as human beings where it's like, oh, the Oompa Loompas and Wizard of Oz and all this shit. It's like, yeah, dude, they're still people, and they want to compete like anybody else. They're normal people. So I was kind of just viewing it as an MMA fight, and shout out to them. Like I said, these are two people who actually came to fucking fight on this bullshit card, and I thought they did a great job. So I would like to see more little person MMA. If there's a league out there that would do that kind of thing, I don't know. It might be hard to get enough competitors to actually make a full league out of it, but these guys got as much of a right as anybody else to compete. So I was very impressed with both these guys.
I am happy to hear that because there's some questions that I have and they're necessarily answers as well too. You're talking about is there a league or something, dude? Jeremy Smith is 6-0.
I said the same thing. I said, how the hell has he been fighting that many times? There must be some other little people out there. So
And
yeah,
and so to that point, for somebody who came into this fight 5-0, they found him an opponent who was 0-1, and for this dude to put on banger, that's a lot of hope, The dude who has one bout and he lost, and we put him up against a dude who's obviously a killer when it comes to little people MMA. I mean, this Jeremy Smith, and shout out Ryder because again, I seen some of the clips and these guys they were cool, man. I really appreciated this. But my last point about this graphic is, and please tell me you can clarify, how are they heavyweights? Is this just a placeholder on the?
oh yeah, that has to be somebody not updating the thing correctly. Yeah, got to be. Well, because that was actually what somebody else had said is they were like, and I don't know if this is the truth or not, but they were saying because I said the same thing about Smith. How does he have so many opponents? They were like, just because he's that size, I mean, it goes by weight. So I was like, dude, if he's fighting full size people, I mean, I don't think could he really have been beating full size people? I don't know. Maybe he could.
But
These are the questions.
maybe not full size people, but if you think about that guy in one, there's like short people in one that we've really seen that I've brought up the point. Like they might be
True.
legalized midgets. Like that sorry, little people, but that could be one of the maybe that's the tallest that's their tall person, it's like the person who's 5'2", like maybe they are able to beat somebody that stature, but when they're like 5'6", it's like, well, obviously I'm gonna they're just gonna push me over kind of deal.
Yeah, well, but so I mean that really does become the question because what I said to that is that obviously there's other elements that go into dwarfism, the actual
Hmm.
legitimate medical condition that these people have. So I don't think that you could have just a person who I don't think you can go by weight specifically when it comes to them. I think, but maybe they would say otherwise. So I don't know the answer to that part of it. But if that is the case, I mean, because they said, oh, heavyweight at actual heavyweight you can be fucking 20 pounds difference. I mean, it goes by weight. So there could be there could be more for these guys if they really just wanted to go by that, but I don't know if that would necessarily be appropriate. I don't know.
Absolutely. Well, moving on from this one, shout out to him one more time. Little people MMA. I'm sorry if that's not the proper terminology, but that's what we are here for. I would love to see because I come from an area where like we have, and and this is just it would just be called midget wrestling. Like it would be on a billboard, you know, and it'd be like come
Oh yeah.
see, and they'd be characters that are not knockoffs, of course, but you know, inspirations of the real life WWE superstars, but they're the mini versions of them. You know, micro wrestlers, of course. You know,
Yes.
I
Yeah, we
think
have
we
that
could
here too.
yeah, I think we could totally benefit from listen, martial arts to little people would be 10 times better than martial arts to the 15 goofballs that we saw like in the past month, you know, like whatever you want
On
to say.
this card, I mean, on this very card, this again, this best fight of the night right here. I would take an entire card of these people, little people, whatever, doing their thing over half of the fights that we saw in this thing.
And what I would like to say to this, and this is the point that we should live up to it, I would like to clip that up. We need to make a short of the little people MMA stance. We need justice for them. I need a league
True.
right here, right now. All
I
the
love
top
it.
competitors in the world, because they not little people aren't just in America, guys. They're all over. And they could be competing. You know, fighting it's a universal sport, you know. So
Absolutely.
I love the idea.
Me too. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm totally with it. What else?
Okay, so next let's go into the NBA players.
Ah,
Oh wait,
yes.
what's this one below that actually? Sorry.
Oh, well, I mean, that was one I
Oh,
thought you were
oh,
gonna
I
want to
actually
talk
thought
about. Of
I
course,
thought
we
that
have
was
to.
next. I'm sorry, I thought that was next. But let's talk about the NBA players
Okay,
first, and then we'll come
sure.
back to this. Yes.
All right.
So funny enough, I grew up watching basketball. You guys maybe know this. Michael Beasley is one of those guys who very good, you know, not very very good, just not dedicated enough, you know, likes to smoke weed it seems, you know. He would always say like I'm LeBron or Kevin Durant on the left side of the floor. You know, he's got like this kind of level to him. So to see him, this is where he's at. Very, very interesting. Lance Stevenson, on the other hand, is a guy who his biggest claim to fame is blowing in LeBron's ear because that was the only thing left for him to try to do to disrupt LeBron. Like there was nothing he could do to stop him. It's like I got to get in his head somehow. So you know, just blow in his ear, and it obviously went viral. Very very funny moment. Pretty sure they lost that fucking game. Got stomped out in the series. You know, no big deal. You know, but he went on to not he tried to use that as leverage, I guess, to get more money on different teams, bounced around, ended up being back in Indiana, had to change his number, didn't really have the same vibe, you know, whatever you want to say. To see,
Tried to use that as that was his thing that he used to further his career. I'll go.
yeah,
I'm gonna go take me onto your team, and I'll blow in anybody's ear.
and listen, I will not get into basketball too much, but so
Right.
seeing him here, it is not surprising. Like, all right, you kind of fumbled. You could have been in Indiana and they could have paid you just because you blew in LeBron's ear, you know. But you tried to play the market and the market played you. So here you are. Now you're fighting Michael Beasley in mixed martial arts. And funny enough, so I made this point before. You know, Michael Beasley posted clips of him training MMA from Jordan Leviat, and I just thought it was very, very funny. Out of all people, you couldn't have picked like a, you know, Jared Cannonier. You know, I'm not trying
Yeah,
to listen.
he wasn't hanging out with D-Rod, you know.
Exactly. So Michael Beasley is getting shown some chokes. You know, he's showing him a rear naked. You know, he's like, all right, this is how you get it, and boom, cool. And Michael Beasley's like, fuck yeah, I got this shit. I'm cool. And from the clips that I saw, there did not seem to be much of a fight back. You know, it actually was pretty funny. You know, it started out on the feet cool, and then Lance gets the, you know, Michael Beasley goes for the guillotine or whatever, some stupid shit gets taken down, and then Lance just chokes him the fuck out. Like
I was gonna
it's
say, you know, you say he was getting shown a whole bunch of chokes. He got shown a choke by Lance Stevenson in this fight.
and I think that's pretty funny too. Be like Lance does, he is kind of like a crazy kind of dude. Like he does seem like he's a little unhinged. So I'm not surprised that he would think to like right just because when you're training martial arts, if you're somebody who's training martial arts, you don't think to just grab somebody like that. You got to wait till you got their back position. You wouldn't go for a sub like that. You know, you got to be patient, you know. But somebody who really doesn't really know, like they'll just fucking just try to just, and he did exactly that. Like, and I think that fits Lance perfectly. Michael Beasley, on the other hand, as a dude as delusional as he is, like it makes perfect sense that he came in here, thought he'd just fucking jump the gilly like Dustin Poirier, and then just gets fucking, and then he taps instantly. It's absolutely something I would love to see. You know, the big three is a league for like the retired NBA kind of guys for them to stay in shit, you know, whatever. Give me more of the ex NBA players because they spend their entire fucking careers. And listen, I had to say it. They spend their entire careers acting like they want to fucking fight somebody. do this shit. Now I believe it. Lance, he's got he's 1-0. It's funny because he's the type of dude that he might take this shit a little serious. Now he's like, oh wait, I could actually, bro. He thought he was anything, and I just took him down, and it wasn't even. I didn't even have to be qualified. I just learned this shit on the fly, kind of deal. He might actually try to fucking go somewhere with it. So, anything else you would like to say on that one?
Nope. I mean, obviously you have more of a frame of reference for both these guys. I didn't know them. This fight sucked, and that was about it. So I really there was nothing really to for me when it came to this. There was more for most of this there was more at the press conference. Of course, I did a video about that. So watch that video if you want the full scoop on all of the press conference stuff. But yeah, that was really about the extent of it. You told me that these guys were friends off outside of the fighting element, and I was like, all right. I mean, great. And so this fight came and went as far as I was concerned.
Oh, 100%. But what I will say is, I think this is going to be the story for most of these brand risk type of fights is like the winner should be almost guaranteed for a second bout. He's coming in here thinking he's the fucking man. I just went in a mixed martial arts bout and whoop somebody. Hell yeah, I'll go for a second one. The person who lost though, they're like, I don't ever want to be choked like that again. I would never want to do that again. So Michael Beasley's probably never going to compete. Lance Stevenson, I think he will go ahead and sign up another one against another fighter that we'll talk about here in a second. And actually, it's to a point. Speaking of NBA players and the mixed martial arts aspect, there is a fighter. Well, I'm sorry, excuse me. There is an NBA player who is. I would start to believe that he's like some Frank Dukes shit because he says that he's a black belt in a bunch of shit and he's done a bunch of mixed martial arts bouts and he's like this and that. But I don't know if it's ever been confirmed. His name is James Johnson. Have you ever heard of him? It's a very basic name, of course, but
No, yeah, I have not.
look him up sometime. If the chat's out there, if you could back me up on this, is James Johnson truly the mixed martial artist that he says he is? Because now we have a competition for him. So
Well,
that's all.
and there was a guy, I forget what his last name is. You've seen him on the UFC broadcast. His first name is Max, but yeah, he's an NFL player. And apparently he trains a whole bunch. And so I was
The Rams guy.
yes, yeah, or I mean, I don't know what team he plays for, but
maybe or at one point Rams, sure,
red haired guy.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I forget what somebody will know, but yeah, he was at the event, and they were saying, oh, he trains pretty regularly and this and that, and I was like, okay, I mean, if he's trying to do it too, then maybe he can get into some of this. I mean, it's probably something for him as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But this is because I've seen clips of him sparring with Sean Strickland, not to give him
Right.
any validity or whatever, but like he does seem like he's kind of here to do it. So here is a promotion for these people, not necessarily who wanna because they have their career. They
Right.
have made their money. There's no reason for them to be a pro mixed martial artist. The money is already there. It's not gonna be there. This is just for the shits and giggle of it. Let me see if my competitive drive can make me surpass somebody in physical combat. And these guys, and we'll talk about it. The next fight, of course. This is actually a great segue because it's a football player with what's his name, Max something.
Yeah, is it Beasley? Is it Max Beasley? No,
No,
that's his Beasley. Yeah, that's Michael
yeah,
Beasley. Shit. Yeah, yeah, Max. Ah, god damn it. I wish is it not Max Kellerman. No,
no.
yeah,
But either
I don't
way,
remember.
shout out Jeremy Hall, by the way, saying James Johnson's legit. Whole family trains and competed. Okay, all right, all right. I want listen. Here's your promotion. But to go to the next fight that I will talk about, Johnny Manziel and Bob
That's
Menry.
main
So
event of this thing.
this bout order, I would have figured the main event would have been the fucking Ray J shit, just because he's like the biggest
Oh,
name.
it should have. It was the main event it is the people's main event for sure.
Gotcha. We'll definitely get into it, of course. But so yes, Johnny Manziel, an example of somebody who again made his money in the NFL, made probably fuck tons of it, blew probably more of it because he's somebody. Anyway, he's going into this. And he actually did look like he took it very, very seriously. And I could have figured that, to be fair. I mean, Bob Memory's a fucking I watched this dude on Instagram cover NFL highlights and he just made a funny voices over them and stuff. Like I could have almost figured that Johnny Manziel with the frame to play in the National Football League, to be a quarterback, he has to be decent sized, of course. Like you have to be able to take hits too as well. Like I could have figured his competitive nature and his frame, he would have been able to compete against somebody who is a fucking video content creator kind of deal. And I was 100% right with that assumption because Johnny Manziel actually came out here and other than the little people, of course, when it came to like the X former athlete of a different sport. Like this, Johnny Manziel looked like he was actually doing some good stuff. He was throwing a low kick. He was kicking high. It didn't look pretty, but he was trying his best. To make it like I'm here to beat this dude, and he eventually did. Of course, just gets into fucking full mount because Bob Memory's just fucking. Anyway, so Johnny Manziel, I want to give a big shout out because
And I
Max
had
Crosby,
there
yes.
you go. Yes, thank you, Bleeding Edge. Appreciate you being here. And yes, Max Crosby is the guy's name that I was talking about. Thank you, brother.
And so Max, I mean, if you want, I think the size might be a little different, but Max is probably a pretty fucking big dude. He plays on the line, to be fair, so he would have to be like heavyweight,
Yeah,
Johnny.
somebody would who actually would like be trying to like take fighting somewhat seriously. Like to fight him. I mean,
Not
or just a
not
guy big enough. I guess you're saying.
a guy big enough and with enough, star power that it makes sense, but, like, because he's not necessarily trained to the brim, but he's a guy who steps in there and he'd maybe wanna compete at the level that would be considered pro. Everybody who competes or trains martial arts, to have one professional bout, I would say that's if you're there actively training, like, that should be the goal. And to do it at this level, I mean, again, it's not for the money, but to just go out there and prove to yourself that, like, I could competitively as a man, I can compete against another man, whatever you want to say. Like it's all about competition. And that's why I want to give Johnny Manziel props because like you can truly see that like what got him into the NFL is you saw a kind of glimpse of that. Like he did want to compete, and
Well, I
not
mean,
just
when
like fuck around.
he's going up against this fucking cartoon character, Bob Menery. So what they had
Yes.
said about this guy is that apparently he had gotten kicked out of a casino earlier in the or like the previous evening or whatever. He was too drunk, so he was like wired, bouncing all over the place, and made a bit of a fool of himself out in the casino. So they didn't even think he was going to show up, and then he shows up to this fight, and he was strung the fuck out. I mean, he was this guy. I don't know exactly what he was on, or if he was on anything, but I would suspect he might have been. Just speculating, of course. But yeah, he came into this fight like all kinds of wild. So Manziel, all he had to really do was just weather a little bit of kind of drunken barroom slugging for a split second, basically. Just kind of corral the situation and then take over, and he did his thing. So yeah, Manziel with the easy dub.
Yeah, and that's where I have a problem with this as well. And just to make a quick point, because if Max is 6'5", 255, I think we are making a great case that James Johnson needs to make he needs to make a return because that dude's like fucking 6'6", 260. Like I mean, it's like damn near comparable. I mean, so
True.
that would be a fun bout, not necessarily to see them go out there and try to kill each other, but hey, I'm all for just like having the professional debut. Go out there and show if your heart's really in it, because that's another point that I wanted to make is like Bob Menery. I didn't expect too much, and props to him for getting in there. I'm not trying to shit on the guy or anything. Like he got in there, but it did not look like he was prepared to take a punch. And whether it was because he was on something and that had him in a like state, like I don't know what the fuck he was doing, but
Well, I
it,
mean, I'm trying to shit on it because I think that you're giving way too much credit to a lot of this. I think that most of these people are here to, suck a little bit of shine off of being on a card like this. They don't care about fighting. They don't care about combat. They're not trying to prove themselves as men or like do what you're saying. Oh, just to show that I can take a fight. Right? No, they're just trying to go in there,
no,
get a little bit of extra shine, and then get the hell out of there.
yeah, but for people who and this is what I've said about the UFC, people who are not compatible with society as much, I would prefer them to be able to have a sport like this where they could go earn money. Like you don't have to be the criminal. So Cedric Dumas literally had a UFC career. He still does somehow. You don't have to be a fucking criminal, bro. You can literally just be a professional fighter. And I think for somebody like Johnny Manziel, from what I'm understanding of his past, he's dealt with a lot of addiction things. Like for him to want to compete in mixed martial arts, guys, like, come on, like it could be he could be doing way worse things with his time. Like that's all that I'm trying to point out here. Using the last bit of what his athleticism could offer, and he's still young. Like I'm not trying to make it seem like he's like dying and withering, but like he still wants to have like an energetic expel kind of deal. I don't know. I want to give props to one competing, one being able to. Did they make weight? Like they had to make weight and stuff. Like props to them for going through the whole shebang. I don't know if they fucking stepped on a scale and they actually fucking did it, but props to everybody for treating it in the way that they actually signed up for a mixed martial arts bout. They got in the ring and everybody actually competed, not necessarily to the point that you would have wanted it to. We can't really expect them to be the best of all time, but they did step in there. No fights were like pussied out, or some like they in terms of choking, but like you could tell like they were choked. Like so I want to give props to the people who actually stepped into the combat arena. You know, I haven't. I'm not gonna act like I did. So Johnny Manziel, Bob Memory, you may have made a fool of yourself, and we'll talk about somebody else who did. But this is what this is. You know, brand risk. It's really how much is embarrassment worth? You know, like would you rather get embarrassed for a lifetime, getting popped in your head and falling over, or you're gonna win and people are gonna think you're some mixed martial arts guru now. You know, like I don't fucking know. Like what are the odds that things go your way after this? I think are slim, but I think for somebody like Johnny Manziel specifically, this is an okay path for him, I would say.
All right, fair enough then. I mean, I'll allow for that. Before I move on from Manziel, did they take this picture of him like at a lower angle specifically to make his head look like tiny as fuck?
These pictures are pretty bad, but
Yeah.
that's fine.
Regardless. All right. So yeah, and then
Yes,
let's
the main
we got
event for me, for
yeah, the
everybody, I
people's
would
main
say.
event. We got to talk about Ray J versus the GOAT Super Hot Fire. And this is one where I actually do give legitimate credit. Ray J, you know, we had seen the video. We looked at it on the free for all of Ray J choking out Giorgio Puelles. But
Yeah. I was gonna ask. So did Ray J? Did he fuck the dude in the crowd, or what happened? He said he was gonna do that on fight night.
oh gosh, yes. Well,
Yes. Did that end up happening?
yeah, and it did not happen at the event. No, no, that
Mm,
apparently got settled. You know, at the press conference. If you want to know exactly what we're talking about, watch the video that I put out about
gotcha.
the press conference. But yeah, that guy was not there. I don't think
Damn
so.
it.
You know, he had his moment of shine at the press conference, and that was about it for him. But no, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that somewhat happened to Ray J in this fight. You know,
Yeah,
because yeah, so Ray J, I mean, you know, we saw the video of him, you know, choking out Giorgio, and he comes into this fight and Super Hot Fire really Ray J is like a side character in this whole thing. It's all
mhm.
about Super Hot Fire, bro. This dude Super Hot Fire comes out first of all, gets walked out to the ring with the trashiest looking dancer girl that I've ever. This dude had to have gone to the worst strip club in all of Las Vegas, and that's really saying something in Vegas to find this girl. Just absolute trash show. You know, shaking ass all the way to the ring. He's coming out there, and then in the fight, round one, he didn't throw a single punch. And that's I'm not even like that's not a meme. Like he
I've
literally
heard
did not.
people say, yeah.
Yeah, he intentionally did not, is what I'm trying to say. It's not like he was like trying and missing and like, oh, he didn't throw a single. No, he did. He intentionally did not. He was dodging and dipping and weaving from Ray J, not respecting Ray J in the slightest. Everyone was like, "What's he doing? What's he doing?" And I'm like, he has to be memeing right now. In my mind, I'm like, this has to be a joke, right? He's like obviously not taking this seriously. Between rounds, does not get any cornering. The girl that walked him out is shaking ass in the ring. He's on his phone filming. It was like, you know, he's not taking any of this seriously, like making a mockery of this already mockery event. And I'm loving everything that I'm seeing. So I'm like, okay, what's he gonna do in round two? Round two, beans Ray J, just bang, it hits him, he stiffened Ray J up, sent him into the ropes. Ray J is out, ended up with a knot on his forehead. Super Hot Fire memed the meme event and then just ran off. Just ran away at the end. They were having him in the ring. They were going to interview him. Ray J is talking all of this crazy stuff. I guess Ray J was trying to make it seem like they had some kind of agreement or something, like, you know, basically fight fixing, which of course, you know, that's not legal if that was the case. But yeah,
Which I thought you brought up. Somebody brought up a great point about that. Is Ray J is kind of he's kind of out there. So maybe that was his way to like cover it all up. Like, bro,
that's what I had said. Yeah.
you fucked me out of the money. Come on, it's like that's it. That was his way to like screw everybody out of shit. You
Yeah,
know.
just to be like, yeah, you know, I thought we were doing something different than what we were doing here, and I wasn't actually, yeah, you know, he's trying to make it seem like there was a different arrangement or
Yeah.
whatever. But I don't give a fuck what the answer was because he got knocked the fuck out, and Super Hot Fire is the man.
What I will say about that, and specifically to the Super Hot Fire, I only know the dude from the meme. I don't know too much about him. Apparently, he was 2-3 in MMA, you know, before this. So props to him for competing and wanting to, you know, if this is the life that he's competing in, you know, he just got the biggest fight of his career against fucking Ray J, you know. So the let me I did hear that he did not throw a single I did hear it broke down that he did not throw a single punch. He had the girl twerk and no cornerman. I unfortunately and this goes to the larger pictures because Super Hot Fire he is somebody who has somehow navigated his aura very, very accurately. So the meme, of course, and now here we are, gets a fight with Ray J, doesn't throw a single punch and then pops him once and finishes it. But the thing that is part of the story that is key, and I want to tell you how I depicted it, because this was the aura, in my opinion. When they said he brought out the girl to twerk in his corner, I thought he was on the stool, you know, taking it, and she was right here, like just like twerking, like
That's what
right.
it was.
Oh, okay.
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah,
no, that's legitimate. That's what I'm saying. He did not have cornering. He had her in front of him twerking while he was on
gotcha.
his phone.
The ass wind was winding him, that's how I was depicting it in my head.
Well, I think that part of she might have been going the other direction, which
See,
does
and
yeah,
that
that kind of
I
does
was
take away
thinking
a
the
little bit.
aura. I was thinking
Yeah.
the aura was he was, face deep, just locked into buttocks shaking,
Well, I mean, granted, with the level of female that we're talking about, maybe that's not the fanning that you want, you know.
Fair,
But
but he got the rejuvenation that he needed, because yes, you are right. In the second round, he throws the one punch and lands right on the top of Ray J's head, and it is pretty funny because it wasn't no fluke. I mean, Ray J got popped, and you could see his body, and then he
eyes
falls
open,
flat.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
He was eyes wide open out. I mean, like, and it was, yeah, it wasn't even like on the button or anything, like, not on the chin, not on the temple, like it was just on the top of the head, and it just rocked him hard enough because he's not used to getting punched. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like, so yeah, no, absolutely. Super Hot Fire is my fucking hero, dude. Like this dude, I didn't think that it was possible to out meme the meme event, but he did it, and I'm like,
yeah.
this guy, like a legend. This is like he's like the Andy Kaufman of MMA right now, which I appreciate.
I do agree with the legend status. From as little as I know of him, from 15 years ago with a meme that he created, to now be 3-3 who just knocked out Ray J. I mean, I'm down.
He
I
wins
believe.
battles. He wins his battles, and he's not a rapper. He wins his fights, but he's not a fighter.
There you go, brother. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, and then of course we talked about the interviewer, and we will give him his credit, because you are right. He did say the one funny thing. It's like, yo, you see that knot on your head right there? And he's like, I can't see. It's on my forehead, dickhead. Whatever he says,
Yeah. Oh,
And
that
he's
was
like,
great.
and then he's like, it's a big cartoon lump right there, man. Yeah,
That was, yes. That was a genuinely funny moment for the interview guy for sure, and also saying like because Ray J was going to go over to talk to Super Hot while he was trying to interview. He's like, no, don't talk to him. You don't deserve it right now. And I was
yeah.
like, yeah, there you go. If you're going to be taking it to that level, that is an appropriate time for it. So yeah, that's his one little level of praise he gets.
And before we close this one out, I thought Dada 5000 was your hero, James.
He has been surpassed by Super Hot Fire. In fact, if Dada 5000 wants to throw down, I think Super Hot Fire might be the next matchup for him.
I want to talk about it. I know this is not necessarily the show that we speak about these things at this point. At one time maybe we talked about it, but I do want to talk about a hero in the sport. And I think this is a story that we should talk about. Not necessarily a real hero, but of course, for a person who's trying to compete in mixed martial arts at this level, and they're going through the health issues that they're going through, I would just like to say, Andreas Gustafsson, whatever past stuff that you have going on with tattoos and alliances and cliques you got, all out the window. Broken neck before your debut, and now heart conditions. That's hard. These are things that you would assume he had been dealing with. It's not something that just, oh, you wake up with heart conditions. Like you develop them over time. His neck wasn't just snapped. It was just like over time. A fracture, a disc out of plate. Things like that happen. So he had probably been dealing with a lot of things. And I'm not trying to like make speculations, but he did kind of seem like a very stiff kind of fighter. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel for the guy. I bet he had been going through it, and for him to kind of call a moment to the career, it's unfortunate. Because he's somebody that I was really interested as a prospect. As a fun fighting style, and hopefully he's able to figure all that out. I'm sure there's a doctor out there telling him that he's never going to fight again. We've heard it all before. You're never going to walk again. You're never going to do this. People are able to overcome a lot of interesting things. So, stem cells, something you brought up, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
we
No,
don't
I
know.
hope. Yeah. I don't know how that would work exactly for her. I don't know what his condition is, but yeah, for anybody who's not aware, yeah, Andreas Gustafsson, unfortunately, is going to be out of the sport indefinitely, at least for the time being. He's just recently discovered some kind of anomaly with his heart, some heart condition that he has, which is going to sideline him for the foreseeable future, at least for a little while. So yeah, no, I agree. It's unfortunate. I mean, somebody who we were all interested in for various reasons, of course. But I mean, all that other outside the ring stuff aside, he was an entertaining enough fighter. So
Yeah, bleeding edge with the kind of facts there. I didn't mean to interrupt you there,
Yeah,
but
I mean, look, and like if he was covering again, I certainly acknowledge all of that. I want to believe that people can change in life. If he was if he felt strongly enough about his past that he was trying to actively cover it up, with other ink or whatever, then I look, I can't tell what's in the man's heart. You know what I mean?
mm.
All I know is what I saw in the cage, and I had not heard any other stuff. He had not given me any other reason to dislike him in that regard. So I don't know.
Yeah, he had a very compelling story. Dana White on the NPR radio, and again, I agree with you. Very good look on Dana for a lot of things that he said. When he's talking about the story, I've often brought it up. It's not about the rankings and stuff like that. It's what can they tell with what's going on here. Manel and Josh Van. It's like, oh, we have two fighters. Josh Van and Tatsuro. These are the two youngest people trying to go for a belt. Japanese guy. This is an Asian clash kind of deal. There was something to sell there. So I don't know, man. I forgot where I was going with that one, but either way,
Yeah, I mean, this is like the stories of people and stuff. And if it is a story of overcoming, and I mean, he was a little older guy too, right? I mean, like he was not
yes,
super young either, so that was kind of interesting. Again, like just taking him off of his fighting style and what we saw from in the cage, like if he kept doing what we had enjoyed from him, he went for it. He was definitely a guy
yeah.
that went out there and actually fought. So I appreciated that. I would have liked to have seen more out of him. It certainly was a hot prospect coming off of the Contender Series, and then inside of the organization showed some grit in there. So it's unfortunate that he's sidelined or whatever, but best of luck to him. I hope that he gets better, and if he is a changed man from his wrong thinking of the past, then that's something to be celebrated as well, I say.
But again, I'm not trying to justify anybody or anything for this, but I would like to just make the stipulation that even Thinker would agree that some of those logos, they're kind of hard. I don't know.
I
That
mean, I'm the first to say it. I mean, there's a reason that iconic imagery sticks with people, and some of those, unfortunately, evil entities were some of the best with those.
Yeah, so we've talked that one to death already. We've had multiple different instances, but once again, just shout out to Andreas Gustafsson. It sucks to hear when somebody has to take a sideline to the sport. In any case, Dominic Reyes, I felt the same way at the time. When he
Right.
stepped away.
Fair enough. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, that all being said, is there anything else you want to talk about with this horse shit? I think that we've platformed brand risk more than anybody else should or has. So, if you had any final thoughts on this thing?
Nope, I think that is good. I
Oh, well,
appreciate
actually, no, I
everybody.
do.
Oh,
I do.
okay. All right, go ahead.
Let me say one thing, okay? And I know I've said this in the Discord and I said it a little bit on the stream last night, but I need to say it here on this show. Sean Strickland is the biggest bullshitter in the world of mixed martial arts. I am sick and tired of Sean Strickland and this duality that he tries to play. This guy has this fucking anti-influencer outward appearance to people, or like tries to portray that while being an influencer himself and absolutely loving it. Sean Strickland went to this event, was on the microphone being the exact hack that he is. He is we talk about hack comedians, like, what that is. It goes for the easiest joke, the joke that you've heard a million times. Sean Strickland does that to a T. And I don't know if it's because he thinks that is like what his core audience wants, or if that's just the lane that he is comfortable in or whatever. But when Sean Strickland gets on the microphone, it is racial humor, it is sexist humor, all the things that about his brand, but it's the easiest jokes of all time. The example that comes to mind is there was one moment when somebody brought up lawyers, and Aiden Ross, who was running this brand risk event, was like, "Oh, I've got good lawyers." And why to say of good lawyers, Sean? Tell me why. Oh, good. And of course you got good lawyers because you're a Jew. Yeah, Sean, great joke, dude. We haven't heard that one 8 million fucking times. So that in and of itself is annoying as shit, that he's not even like clever enough to go one step beyond that. But you could tell he's sitting here having a great time on commentary with all these other people doing his thing. And then he has the fucking nerve after the show is over to come out and be like, "Guys, I don't know what I was thinking. I lost my dignity being there. It was the worst thing I've ever seen, brother." Shut the fuck up. You are a duplicitous asshole for this shit, dude. Like, you were having a good time with it. You're playing both sides of the fence, and it's annoying as shit. So I just I'm sick and tired of Sean Strickland with this two-faced personality that he tries to play on, because he knows that people like want to see him be like the anti guy. Oh, I'm anti-influencer, but you cannot play both sides of the fucking fence.
I definitely agree with everything you've said right there. The thing that I would say I know for fact is, yeah, he looked pretty happy hanging out there, all night. And it wasn't even just like, oh, I did a couple minutes and I realized that. No, he was there. He was there all night, just there all night. So
He was there with his girlfriend Nina. Nina with her two boyfriends, Sean and Armin, were both there. Armin was actually pretty well behaved, except he did knock the table over. That was kind of funny.
very funny.
Yeah, but so whatever, the table got knocked over. Armin was the one that happened to do it. But either
It
way,
wasn't a commentary booth because it was just folding tables. That was why it got knocked over, by the way.
it was a
But
commentary dais, is what it was. It was just a bunch of people like kind of coming in and out of commentary. It was interesting, but yeah. So I mean, like Sean is there with Nina, and they're doing the normal shit that they always do. He's having a grand old time, and then has to go out after the fact to denounce all of it, like he wasn't part of it and enjoying himself doing all that stuff. It's like he's just it's disingenuous. Like it's transparently disingenuous. It's obviously disingenuous. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's just unfortunate that he has to mask who he really is at this point. He's made a career being the I hate everything guy, but now he's actually getting to the point where he's got to move on from that because he's got to get a newer he's gaining a bigger audience than he ever would. He never thought he was going to be a fucking two-time champion to beat the two biggest upsets. He just went in there with high hopes, and now he's one of the biggest names in the game. And so him hating everything, he's realizing he's got to start branching off, but he's got to enjoy it in the moment. But then afterwards, he's still got to garner in those people who don't watch the event, and they didn't even know that he was there. He's like, fuck, I stopped by. Fuck it, my bad, guys. That shit was whack. So the people who just read that tweet, they're like, yeah, see, Sean Strickland even knew. He even knew this shit was bullshit and dipped out, but they don't really know that he had the time of his fucking life, hanging out with Tekashi 6ix9ine, brother.
Yeah.
I am appalled that this is happening, like in America for real. Like this dude is something crazy. Self-proclaimed one of the weirdest people that I've ever met.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
met, excuse me, but ever seen
PDF,
on.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, no, that very, very crazy. And Sean, just kind of chilling with him, of course. Yeah, another part of it. Yeah,
Everybody just chilling with him. A whole
I know.
arena of people chilling, and he's not followed by guards. He doesn't have an ankle monitor on. Like, I'm confused on why the police are not with him 24/7 at this point. Like, I don't know. That's crazy, but
Yeah,
whatever.
well, that goes to a broader problem that we have in the country and the world right now. That it's like we have we've got this like kind of moral outrage over a lot of things, but then also at the same time, ironically and bizarrely, also a normalization of a lot of very terrible things. It would seem, considering that no punishment happens to anybody who does terrible things anymore. But again, that goes into a broader problem. Either way, I just thought Sean Strickland was an embarrassment when it came to how him being at the event, not a problem. And even because, I mean, I see, Beeb saying, oh, Strickland is a borderline racist is best. It's not the racism doesn't bother me. I mean, like, does it bother me? Yes, of course. But I mean, like him being that character, that does not bother me. It's the fact that he's not clever with it at all. It's like same with Josh Hokett. Like Josh Hokett being like a cartoon character, WWE or whatever, that would not bother me if he was actually clever. He is just annoying. And Sean Strickland gets into that same boat when it's like the lowest hanging fruit that you could possibly imagine when it comes to these jokes. I mean, like I'm surprised he wasn't busting out watermelon and fried chicken when it came to some of the black fighters on the card. It's that level of like baseline commentary as far as like the humor goes. Like that's why it was bothering me. At least have like a little bit of like snap to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was definitely a sight to see. My last question, I guess, just because we've already taken up an hour
I know.
talking
Yeah, I
about
did
this.
not expect to be
But
talking
we'll
about
run
this
it.
horseshit
We'll
enough.
round it out with this last one. I mean, what did you think of Aiden Ross fight commentary? I mean, that's the last thing I gotta ask.
Aiden Ross on the, I don't know enough about him to like have a full on like opinion about from what I understand, he's not very bright, or at least I have seen like other clips that
He
have
makes
like,
millions of dollars, brother.
well, that kind of what I was leading towards, I guess, is that like, I mean, regardless of his like actual intelligence as a person, he did not bother me at all, honestly. Like there was not a time on this card where I heard him and I was like, oh my God, shut up or anything like that. He actually just seems like a kind of a meek, sort of normal kid who like he reminds me of like a kid that is like hanging out with the older kids, and like he's just sort of like a younger kid there that doesn't, he's kind of just like, oh man, like what's going on, like that kind of thing. And I don't know if that's his shtick. Again, I don't know enough about him to like really know the full story, but he never bothered me at all. Actually, I really thought that he was, because he was almost like a side character in his own thing, like which is kind of how I view him in general. It's like it's never really about him. It's more about the people that he gets on his stream. It's like, he's just kind of like there and in a broader context of everything else. So I don't really know how he got as successful as he is, but like he does not bother me all that much based on what I have seen.
100%. And just speaking of Aiden Ross as well, I was, and nobody can confirm this as well, because if you had not watched an Aiden Ross stream, I know this because of Armin. He's been on there with the Guru thing. Aiden Ross has a prison cell in his house or where he films, and I'm still confused on what that is for. And did he have one built for the Apex event? Like, what's
Yeah, I did not see any of those at the Apex, but I do know what you're talking about. And yeah, I'd be curious. Maybe there's an Aiden Ross fan out there who can explain to us why there is a mock dungeon cell in his property right there next to the luxury cars. Very strange, but I look what he gets up to in his personal life. Maybe that's maybe that's for off camera time.
True, 100%. I agree. But that is brand risk, everybody. Hopefully you guys got to enjoy the circus. Apparently they've had 13 previous ones. I don't know who the hell was on those, but if it was anything like this, we probably might have to do rewatches sometime.
Well, you by all means, Chase, you have a lot of fun with it, because that is I believe that's going to be a one and done for your boy. I mean, I'm barring some like very important fight or something that takes place on one of these things.
Right, of course. I hear you. Yeah. Oh, Blueface still hasn't gotten paid from his brand risk appearance. Well, add him to the list of karate combats and GFLs and PFLs and all these other things. So whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Nate Diaz still waiting for his money from the Jorge Masvidal boxing fight.
I love how they're quote unquote still waiting. Brother, you're not getting anything.
Yeah, exactly. Keep on waiting, guys. Any day now. Just I'm sure you'll open up the mailbox and a check's going to be in there.
Goddamn people, whatever. Yes, but either way, so I'm excited to go into these fights. So continue on.
Indeed. So first of all, shout out to the chat. You guys are amazing. Beeb, Johnny, John Dong is here. Bleeding Edge. Thank you so much for hanging out with us while we went through brand risk, because I know that it's maybe a little bit more freak showish than some people would like. So I appreciate you guys sticking around through that. And yes, so I mean, that all being said, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming UFC Fight Night. This, of course, is Xiong versus Figueiredo. This takes place at the Galaxy Arena in Cotai, Macau. That is in Asia there. So yeah, this is the early morning fight card out there in the other side of the world, and we got fights to talk about on it. First fight of the I guess actually before we go, right, we did want to we screwed up last week, and I need to make sure that I'm keeping this more in mind. But last week we let you down. We did not tell you where we stand as far as our rankings go. So how did we do last week as far as our predictions, Chase?
Okay, so out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 fights, I had gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 correct. It was not my best day. Thinker had gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 correct.
You got to be kidding me.
Let me double check here real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, it was exactly 6.
My God.
So the totals for the total for the year, it's not even that bad. 130 to 111. It's still close. I mean, obviously we're good. Like, that's not even that bad, but cool.
Yeah, well, that could have been my time to overtake, though. Yeah, killing me.
This will be a good week. This will be a good week, man. You're gonna get them all right, and then you'll be 7 away, or whatever you want to say.
It's true, and this is why I love doing these predictions where we have the week off, is because I did get a chance to kind of go a little bit deeper. So I think I might have some deeper insights on this one that maybe make a little bit more sense than what we normally go in with some of these other ones where it's kind of just on the fly. So yes. We'll get into it here, and we will figure it all out. We'll see what we got going here. So, all right, starting this thing off. Of course, the main. No, we're going from the bottom. Yeah,
We're gonna go from the bottom.
Yeah, we're gonna go from
screw
the bottom.
You guys gotta wait.
Yeah, sorry guys. I know a lot of people are going straight to the main event. Usually we go opposite on the normal episodes, but we're gonna go from the bottom. So stick around for the main event. But starting off from the beginning of this card, we got Loma Lookboonmee versus Jaqueline Amorim. Lookboonmee is 10-4. She is 4-1 in her last 5. Her wins are over Estela Nunes by unanimous decision, Bruna Brazil by unanimous decision, Elise Reed by submission, and Denise Gomes by unanimous decision. Her losses to Alexia Thayanara by unanimous decision. She has 1 knockout, 1 submission. She has been subbed once and never knocked out herself. Amorim is 10-2. She is 4-1 in her last 5. Her wins are over Polyana Viana, Vanessa Demopoulos, and Corey McKenna, all by submission, and Montserrat Conejo Ruiz by knockout. Her loss is to Mizuki by unanimous decision. She has 8 subs and 2 knockouts. All of her wins are by finish, and she has never been finished herself.
This is a good fight to start. Now, initially, I said, God damn, Lookboonmee got fed here because Amorim's just gonna get a first round submission. But after careful consideration, I would like to believe, right? Lookboonmee is somebody that, again, she represents Thailand. She is the only person in the UFC from this relative nation. So a lot to be desired when it comes to teams and camps and what we got going on here. But what I will say to that point is Lookboonmee has shown improvements. The times that I have seen her, she has shown a level up, and not just in her style and in her skills, but her aggression. She felt like she was really ready to compete. And these are two people who are 30 years old and right at the same time in their life. But it really just comes down to, do I want to believe in somebody's ability to get better? Because when you look at Amorim, what has she done to get better? Like, she has only came in here, finished people instantly, and the one time she faced adversity, she gets beat by decision by Mizuki, who, she looked good that fight, but did she look great that fight because Amorim? Like Mizuki, nobody thought that she had a chance really at the time. So I want to believe that Lookboonmee, for me to believe that I know what I'm talking, I know a good fighter. I know a fighter who is leveling up. They are taking the necessary steps. They are showing discipline. They are showing determination. I want to believe Lookboonmee has got this, and I still say I want to believe because I think there's a caveat, and I want to hear your response to what I'm about to say. But the fact of the matter is, Jaqueline Amorim is one of these people who is, I can't call her a cheater because she doesn't get caught, but she is somebody who will grab the inside of the glove. She is hooking. She is doing all of the things that are a little unethical, maybe slightly dirty, to get these finishes. So I would not be surprised if in the first round we get to the ground and and this chick is doing some crazy stuff to keep it on the ground. So that's my thought process here. So go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think that this is the big question, because I agree with you about Lookboonmee. I do think she has been making some good improvements, and she does have a level of aggression that makes her dangerous. I think that the loss to Alexia Thayanara is what sticks out to me, because Thayanara is like, she's a little bit bigger than Amorim, but she's somebody who can control. Amorim is very like one-dimensional, honestly, I'd say, is what we saw, especially from the Mizuki fight. I went back and re-listened to our commentary about the Mizuki fight with Amorim in preparation for this, just to kind of like get myself into the right mindset here. And what I was hearing, Mizuki came out looking amazing in that fight. Like, why Mizuki is like just kind of like held off in the side, like, where's Mizuki? She needs to come back. But where she fights very infrequently, but when she does, she looks amazing, and she was able to win that fight. But Thayanara is, like, again, a controller. She's able to keep the position. I don't know if Amorim's going to be able to do that against Lookboonmee, and that's really the only thing, because that was the big takeaway from our commentary before, was that she, like when things started getting tough for Amorim, she didn't have an answer or an adjustment. And that's the big problem that I have with it. Now, Thayanara being able to control Lookboonmee, will Amorim be able to get her way early in the fight and then let it be that? I don't know. I think that that's the big $1 million question here. But that's, kind of where I sit with everything. And, My gut is telling me to go with Amorim, but I'm thinking I might end up going with Lookboonmee as well. So we will see about this.
We got to pause because we
Yes.
just got a super chat. I appreciate my guy Bagel Gasquez. All
Yeah,
right, I love it.
Bagel Gasquez or Bag El Gasquez. Yeah,
I
but
I
yes,
I love it, my guy. 4.99. I appreciate it. All right, off topic. We'll go ahead. Listen, this is to anybody out there. If you ever want us to stop mid show, you give us a super chat and we'll go on forever if you have to make it go on. So 4.99. Sorry to be off topic. I'm curious. Do you like Dana White? Thinker, you go first. Obviously, your super chat came in, brother. Go ahead.
I mean, how long do we have as an aside for this? It's a very multifaceted question. Do I like Dana White? I respect Dana White for what he has accomplished. I don't always agree with his conducting of how he goes about his decision making. There again, there's a lot of different. I think Dana White is a very multi-layered individual when it comes to this sport. So, I mean, in a general sense, I would say not really. I mean, like I'm not like I don't see Dana White and be like, wow, that's a guy that I like, admire. I think I think I have a great deal of respect for him and what he has been able to accomplish, where he has gotten in life. I think that he is one of the hardest working people that I have ever known in the sports world. There's a reason that he is where he is today. I think that he has a lot of like borderline gangster tendencies, which make him an interesting character. But overall, like he's not the type of person that I would want to hang out with personally. So I mean, like maybe that's what I would say is like, do I respect him? Yes. Do I like him? Not really.
I listen, I agree with a lot of the things that Thinker said. I personally, I'm not going to go have a beer with them, just because listen, I saw you slap your wife, bro. Like that's just me personally. But as the head of the organization, as the head of the UFC, this is somebody who came from the NBA. You know, back in the day we had a guy named Donald Sterling. That's the wrong guy. David Stern. Donald Sterling's the racist dude
Yeah,
from
I
the
was gonna
Lakers.
say
My
I
bad.
know where you were going with that one, but
Shout
sure.
out to not shout out to him. Sorry, David Stern. He was a G. He would not let people walk all over him. And Adam Silver, now the new GM of the NBA. He just he's just not getting the point across. To at least at the time that I was watching. Dana White, bro. Gator don't take no shit. This dude is out here and he calls it as it is. I appreciate him for the most part when he does that. I obviously have a thing to say when he doesn't. Like, he has his favorites that Miktabek Orbai has missed weight in 3 different fights and he's still around and no comment has ever been made about it. But he has his favorites when it comes to it. But for the most part, he do be saying the shit that you need him to say to some of these fighters because you can't say it personally. You can't get the point across to the fighters because they're never going to listen to somebody like you. But if Dana White goes out there and says exactly what you're thinking, you kind of just be like, thank you. You do be thankful for him at some points because, some of these fighters, bro, they think they can get away with shit and I'm not saying it's just the fighters too, but like in any sense, like, there's a lot of funny clips of him handling the media and handling certain situations. And I think it's entertaining for sure. And but but only in the figure of the UFC. Like when it comes to central, again, artist and art, the UFC's here. Dana White's over here. The Venn diagrams don't cross for me again because again, I've seen videos of this dude doing crazy stuff and the way that he talks about people. I I have my moments as well, but Dana White, when it comes to the UFC, I do personally like what he has done to get here. And I think when he is gone, it'll be an interesting era because the fighters are probably going to get away with a lot more. That's what I would say to it.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, like he's the figurehead, so he comes with a lot of elements to him. I think that he's like almost a necessary evil at times. Other times, I think he oversteps. Perhaps, like I said, like no respect, yes, because I do think that he's one of the hardest working people I have like ever known in sports. I mean, like as far as like not personally, of course, but that I've ever seen in sports. I
Yeah.
mean, when you talk about people that would not take no for an answer, that's why him and the president get along so well. That's why I think that there's a mutual respect between them. Is like they're by any means necessary, always working, never stopping, always on, always on type of personalities, and it show like when you talk about like hustle culture and like what that has kind of done to young people in this world, like you see all these fakes out there. You know, we talked about Wes Watson recently in some capacity, and I brought him up because it's like, you know, there's a lot of people pretending to be that like always on, you know, like by any means, but like they don't have the actual business sense to like make it real. So they're just pretending. Dana White is not a pretender, and at least not in that respect, you know, like,
Yeah.
so I certainly respect what he has been able to accomplish. And I think that level of stick to itiveness is admirable. You know, I think that that's something that certainly resonates. So yeah, I mean, not necessarily a like, but a respect is definitely there.
I would also, and you know, this is not necessarily respect to Dana more or less, but I would say I appreciate the fact that he has kept around a lot of our fan favorites. You know, it can't be all of them. You know, Goldberg, and you know, and Ariel's not even allowed anymore. But is he a fan favorite? I don't know. But either way, point that I'm making, like you have Rogan and Bruce Buffer. It's like he was able to keep the core right there. You know, for the
Yeah, I mean
longest time.
that's the loyalty aspect that certainly you see in the president, and you know, again, another reason why I think that there's similarities there is that, you know, is if you toe the party line, if you are supportive of the organization and him by extension, then you're going to be okay. If you're not, you're going to be an enemy, and that's again kind of goes, you know, don't go against the family. You know, it's a little bit of a mafioso kind of attitude there, but take that for what it is, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. But I once again appreciate the super chat. If you have any more questions, listen, we're open. We're
Turn
open, brother.
Yeah, turn it into Q&A if you want to keep the super chats coming. But either way, yes, big old gas kiss. Thank you very much for the super chat. We really appreciate it, brother.
100%.
All right, well, back to this fight then. We kind of were halfway through the analysis here. So, you said you were going with Lookboonmee?
I'm gonna go with Loma Lookboonmee because I want to believe that we're coming around, guys. And this is actually something that I'm glad that we can talk about, specifically because Loma is the only one that we have from Thailand. I have to bring this up. There is something that needs to change, and Loma potentially could be that changing force if she comes out here and continues to make a name for herself. Like 4-1, I'm pretty sure we just said in the UFC. 5-1, we start moving closer to the title picture. You know, she starts beating people that are ranked or whatever. Thailand could finally be on the move when it comes to mixed martial arts, because I've made this point before. You look at all the contemporary regions: Korea, Japan, China. You know, now you have Myanmar as a champ, you know, whatever you want to say. Malaysia, obviously, you can, you know, whatever you want to say. There's others that are not there, but when it comes to the major powerhouses in combat sports, Thailand is one of the biggest things because of Muay Thai. And of course, they want to keep Muay Thai cultural and keep that the main focal point of their region. But we need to be at a point where we see Thai fighters who are going to use their expert, you know, Muay Thai, because Carlos Prates is proving that it can work. You know, it can be such an effective way if you have just a serviceable other skills. And I think Loma, I think she has the opportunity to be that, you know, be another. She's not obviously the most Muay Thai based girl. She's more of a grappler kind of deal, you know, at this point. But people from the region could see like, oh, it's possible, not just Muay Thai, you know, and obviously they want to do that because that's, you know, ingrained in them, again, cultural things. But mixed martial arts is just another avenue for them to produce products for their fighters. You know, they have so many people out there. They can have their own circuit for mixed martial arts. They could have their own road to the UFC for their, you know, like this could be good for Thailand. I'm really hopeful, and I really appreciate Lookboonmee. And yes, I'm going to take Loma Lookboonmee.
All right, fair enough. I'm going to take Jaqueline Amorim. I think that the issue here, because like I agree with all of what you just said. I definitely do, and I would love to see more Thai representation. We do Muay Thai Sundays on this channel. I'm a very big fan. I think that Carlos Prates using that plus a mixed martial arts trap, you know, surrounding Muay Thai with the rest of the skill set is tremendously effective, and he is showing that. I don't think that Loma is necessarily like showing that like at a high clip just yet. Now, Amorim did get checked in her last fight. I mean, that is, you know, it's certainly true, but she was able to handle like a lot of other people with the style that she has. I think that if she's able to get her way early in this fight, that's going to be the decision maker. And since Alexia Thayanara, that's kind of what I was leading up to in my before we got sidetracked there. Like if Alexia Thayanara was able to get her way in her fight with Lookboonmee, I think that Amorim might be able to make that happen for herself too.
let me clarify this. I mean, Jaqueline Amorim may have a fancy record and a high finish rate, but from what I saw in her last performance and what I've seen from Alexia Thayanara, I think we're gonna see the separation and just how good these fighters are here soon.
Well,
Because Jacqueline's gonna lose here, my opinion, and then Alexia Thayanara is gonna continue to probably win. She looks like she's a fucking good fighter
oh
in
yeah,
this
no, for
motherfucker.
sure. And I'm not saying that Amorim is like exactly like Dayanara. I think that what the decision maker is for me is that Lookboonmee had a problem with Alexia,
Mhm.
and I don't think that Lookboonmee is as good as Mizuki was in that fight with Amorim.
True. Fair. Yeah,
So
I'm hearing you. Okay, so hey, first fight of the night, we're already split, but hey, that's what it is, you know.
of
So
course, and if you are new here or if you are not, you know that we are streaming to our individual channels. So whoever has the opinions that you agree with more, make sure that you go to that stream and you like that stream. We
absolutely.
lose
Yeah,
Jay. Oh no,
100%.
there you
Yeah, no,
okay.
yeah, sorry, that was yeah, it kind of skipped for a second. I was waiting for you. But yes, continue.
All right. Next up, then, this is where we get into some of the interesting ones here, because a lot of fighters that you might not be familiar with. These are we're in Macau. Fighters from the Asian region, a few that are not necessarily familiar names. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on these. This is Kangjie versus Ramon Taveras. Zhu is 21-4. He is 5-0 in his last five. Excuse me. This is his UFC debut after 3 wins on road to UFC. Last 2 road to UFC wins were by split decision. Keep that in mind. He has 12 knockouts, no submissions. He's been subbed once and never knocked out. This dude has been on 3 separate 5-fight win streaks in his career so far. He is on win number 5 currently. This fight will be the 6th. So just another thing to keep in mind with Zhu Kangjie. On the other side, Taveras is 10-4. He is 1-2 in the UFC, 2-3 in his last 5, with 1 win and 1 loss on the Contender Series. His win, is Sergei Side by split decision. His losses are to Davy Grant and Jack Jenkins, both by unanimous decision. He has 5 knockouts and 3 submissions. He's been knocked out twice and never submitted. We lose Chase again. What's going on here?
It
We
is
having some
skipping around for
some
me a little
problems.
bit. I
Sorry.
Yes, I am hearing you a little bit. Yeah, split decisions, Sierra City, and some unanimous decisions in there. How many knockouts did you
He
say he
has
has on his record?
Ramon Taveras has 5 knockouts and 3 submissions on his record.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, this one is interesting. The first thing that I want to know is I recognize this dude's name. If you don't remember Zhu Kangjie, he was supposed to fight back on Adesanya and Pfeiffer. He was supposed to be on the card against a Marcio Barbosa. I actually think that was a Contender Series guy, if I'm
Yes.
thinking about it right. But so for him to, whatever the issues were, visa issues maybe, I don't know. So he comes in now, finally going to get his debut against Ramon Taveras, who one of these guys, and I've said this before. I mean, he's a guy who he's unfortunately going to have a close fight every time. Like he doesn't have the separating factors. I personally think Sarah City beat him, but if you take into account the blood and whatever, they could have set up a trilogy for later with that one. But I don't think they figured Tavares was going to be anything. But it sucks that they robbed Siri anyway. Tavares is not necessarily the greatest fighter that I've seen. Let me just say it that way. But he does have experience against people who are probably better than Zhu Kangjie's, 6th fighter on every one of his 6-fight streak or whatever you want to say, 5-fight streak that ends on the 6th. So I'm hesitant to take Ramon because he's not looked the best. Out of all the Contender Series prospects, it's like he got a flash knockdown in City, comes into the organization, gets a split decision kind of robbery against City. What were the more recent wins again? Read them off
Well,
for me one more
the
time.
only win that he has in the organization, that's what I have listed as the UFC. Yeah,
Is
today,
the
and of
City?
course he lost to him on the Contender Series, but it was a bit of an odd situation there.
Oh, okay. It was the other way around. So City flash knocked down him. Okay, so they are setting up a trilogy. That's why he would win that fucking second fight. Either way, oh gosh, let me hear your opinion. Who would you like to take on this one?
Well, actually, yes, yeah, that was correct. His other
Oh,
Contender
okay.
Series win was over Cortavius Ramius, by the way.
Oh, he's
Correct.
no
Yeah.
longer with us. Not dead, not
No
dead,
longer with the
just no longer in
organization,
the
so might as well be.
organization.
But no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, okay. So my assessment of this, obviously, they're pairing these guys up because they want a striking battle here. This dude Kangjie with the 12 knockouts. I mean, like, what I want to say also as just an overall note for a lot of these fighters, specifically from China, is that they have these crazy records. 21-4. That's a lot of fights. They load these guys up, guys and ladies. They load them up with local to the region, regional fights. So they're fighting a lot, but you also have to keep in mind that they're fighting insularly. They're fighting people from their same region. There's a lot of fighters from that side of the world. They're not necessarily a diverse pool of talent that they're facing. So you have to keep that in mind when you see these records, because 21 wins is very impressive. But if you're fighting basically the same style over and over and over again, that would be something that I would take into consideration. What's up, Chase?
I think that's a great thing to point out, but I would like to say that it, it's harder to gauge, because if you see somebody who's, like you said, a lot of these bouts, if they were all from the same promotion kind of deal, or the same region of promotions, I could kind of get it, like, oh, you're just facing the same people, the same type of people that just come in and come out, get out. This dude's been around. This dude has been, I mean, CWM MMA, Chin Wu Men, WLF. He was actually in one, by the way, back in 2020. He has a unanimous decision win in one, but then he goes to Jack City qualifiers, back to WLFR, whatever you want to say, and then rode to the UFC. So he's been gathering experience from a lot of different regions that are training different ways, So I'm hesitant to say that he's going to win by knockout, but not Brad Tavares, Roman Tavares, he does have this Philly shell type of fucking, style to him. And I'm kind of thinking that that's going to bite him in the butt here. I do sometimes, guys. I'm not saying China is the main factor of this. Normally, Chinese fighters are very good all around. They'll strike. They can, if they're mainly strikers, they're normally decent at wrestling. If they're wrestlers, decent at striking. Whatever you want to say. I would like to believe that he's going to come out here with an intensity to win this fucking fight. Like you saw Zhao Long, like that dude's got an intensity to him kind of deal. And I'm thinking Zhu Kangjie, dude. That's a name that you would, you'd look out for the next time. So I'm going to believe that Roman Tavares is going to try to get his shell on and just get cracked up. So I'm going to go ahead and take our Chinese fellow, Zhu
All right, I like it.
Kangjie.
I also am taking Zhu Kangji, and what I'm saying is, I think that Ramon Tavares he's too. There have been too many times that he's just not been intense enough. You talk about the intensity that you think that Zhu Kangji is going to have. I've seen the guy fight live. He's a Florida guy too. I want to support him, but I mean, like I've seen enough of him to know that I don't see the spark in him. The thing that I would say about Kangjie that gives me a little bit of pause is those last two road to UFC wins were by split decision. That's a little concerning. But Ramon Tavares is not a guy that's going to tip the scale. So yeah, I'm going to go with Zhu Kangji as well. I mean, Ramon Tavares, go out there and actually show the intensity that you need to show to make this not the assessment. But until I actually see it in active competition, I can't not think this way because I've seen it too many times. I've never been super high on Sergei Sade. I know that you are a little bit more high on him than I am, but like that competition was only good because I think both of them are at that same sort of lower level. And like when you see Ramon Tavares against a Davy Grant, who is not necessarily the guy that gets finished, but a guy that is beatable if you are that level of intense. We just saw Davy Grant piece up Martinetti, and that's a dude who's still early on or whatever. You thought he had a good performance there, Martinetti did. That should show you that like Davy Grant, like if you really push him to the brink, you can beat him. But Ramon Tavares is not pushing anybody to the brink.
Yeah, I agree. I think Zhu Kangji is going to have a good performance here. I'm really excited. And to the point about, Florida native, Ramon Tavares, Thinker did have a video that he made about Ramon Tavares. If anybody is unaware, make sure to go check that out. And shout out Thinker. It's a very good video. Very, very informative, very thoughtful video. Not everybody makes the cut on a Yama video, but if you do, it's normally taken
I
with grace,
appreciate
I would
that. Yes.
say.
And of course, I mean, all of the fighting stuff aside, Ramon Tavares is a person who's gone through a lot in his life. So shout out to him for overcoming some some harder circumstances. And that video will certainly inform that if you watch that. So
100%.
all right, but we're both locked in.
We're
All
both
right, Zhu
locked in.
Kangjie, it is. All right, moving on to the next one here. All right, this is another very interesting one. So this is Angela Hill versus Jingnan Zhang, or Xiong, I believe is how it's pronounced. All right, Hill is 18-16. She is 2-3 in her last 5. Her wins are over Ketlin Sosa by split decision and Luana Pinero by submission. Her losses are to Fatima Klein, Fatima Klein, Yasmin Lucindo, and Tabitha Ricci, all by unanimous decision. Aside from the sub of Pinero, her last 15 fights have all gone to decision. She has 5 knockouts and 1 submission on her record. She has lost twice by submission and has never been knocked out. Jingnan is 19-2. She is 5-0 in her last 5. This is her UFC debut. She is the former one championship strawweight champion and had a trilogy of fights with Angela Lee. She is 2-1 in that series. She has 10 knockouts and 1 submission on her record. She has been subbed once by Angela Lee and never knocked out.
Wow. I'm kind of a big fan of this Jingnan girl because I looked at her record and I'm like, one, holy shit,
the research
belts.
really pulled me over to her side. I was like, when I started doing the research and saw all of what I saw in there, I was like, oh, okay, we've got a legitimate threat over here.
I would like to believe that yes, a legitimate threat incoming would be nice to believe. It is looking like at age 38 though, we are getting and when I say a Kai Asakura situation, I'm not necessarily saying that, a young upcoming prospect with, all this big social following. We could be getting not damaged goods, but the product expired, if that would make sense, and that's not necessarily the right thing to say because it's really just comes down to them not being able to compete at this level, but I think Jingnan at 38, we might see a diminished version of what she probably could have been. And that's unfortunate because Angela Hill, I hate to break it to you guys, she potentially could upset. And it's not even like a hard task, really. I mean, I don't know anything about Jingnan, but Angela Hill normally has the standard game plan. She normally fights the exact same way, does her thing, and she will normally overwhelm people or she won't. And if she listen, this girl's just nowhere gonna be better than Fatima Klein. That's just 100% facts. I hate to break it to you. At age 38, it's just not possible. But will she be able to beat Angela Hill is a good question. Finish is out of the question. If Fatima Klein didn't finish her, Jingnan is definitely not. But Angela Hill, I cannot see myself. God damn, man, it's a debut. Let's hear what you got to say.
I mean,
Go
it's
ahead.
a tough one because Angela Hill, this is, I think, what's a little tricky about it is like Angela Hill is not going to be taking her to the ground and like, being a ground specialist in any way. So if this is going to be a striking affair, that's really what I'm basing it on. Angela Hill will get her hands on you, clinch you up, try to neutralize the striking, but not in a way that's going to, be threatening for submissions or anything like that. She'll put you on the cage. She'll, do you around a little bit, whatever. She'll try to make it harder for you to strike, but she's not going to take it to the ground. And I think that's why I'm leaning towards Jingnan is because, if it's going to be straight striking, which they have Angela Hill listed as a Muay Thai fighter herself, at least on ESPN. And I don't know if that's necessarily 100% accurate, but I can understand it considering that again, 1 submission in her entire career. She's only got 5 knockouts in all of those fights that I've listed off. 18-16. She's not a finisher. So it's like if this is going to be a striking affair with a little bit of clinching to try to neutralize it, I think that over the course of the fight that Jingnan can overtake if she is anywhere near the level that she was in 1. I don't know if she still is. I'm not familiar enough with the 1 pedigree to know if that's going to be the case. And Angela Hill, I call it Angela Hill syndrome. She has a whole thing named after her around here where it's like she's the person that wins when she's supposed to lose and loses when she's supposed to win. So betting against her or for her is always very risky to me. But based on what I am seeing and out of the records and just knowing how Angela Hill sometimes performs, I'm leaning towards Jingnan.
I'm glad you said that because now we are going to be split once again because I am taking Angela Hill. I think Jingnan, if you look at her record, a lot of her last fights are just unanimous decisions. She's just been skating by the competition that they've clearly just been hamming up for her at a later age in her career. This is just the staple of MMA for one at that point, a former champion, give her some layups on her way out. Now she gets signed to the UFC and she's going against somebody who legitimately has experience. And this is not just like, oh, 2 fights in the organization compared to one. This is like 15 fights in the organization kind of deal. And listen, overkill by name for a reason. I think she will be able to. 38 years old, guys. Angela Hill at 41, I know is crazy, but like that isn't a. You look at Nicholas Dalby. That's a 41-year-old who's before his age, kind of deal. They Jinan might be 38, and it might be a true 38. When I look at Yana Santos, I think of her as somebody who's navigating her age and the way that her skill has aged with her very accordingly. She's not trying to be an athletic superstar. She's catering to what her skill set is. Angela Hill, I think she has that ability to still be that athletic superstar in there. At 41, she could put a pace, and I hate to break it to you guys, Angela Hill's going to finish this fight by TKO.
You are fucking wild right now, dude.
I'm sorry to say, everybody, you may hate me for saying it, but I will see it again on Saturday, and I'm locking that in. So, yeah.
All right. Then there you go. Split once again. Yeah, I mean, Jingnan by UD is what sounds correct to me. I think, just yeah, not a skate by. I mean, and also, we don't know if she was skating by on those unanimous decisions in the other organization. Those could have been dominant wins,
You're right. We don't know, but I've seen a lot of stuff in one, not
And
not the
that was going to be my other point is it's like, this is with her pedigree in one championship, as I love one, I'm a huge fan of one. Their MMA is not necessarily the same caliber here. So I certainly acknowledge that the fact that you do good in another organization, you do good in one does not necessarily translate. But Angela Hill at 18 and 16, I got to believe that there is something there for Jingnan.
listen, the old dog sometimes can learn new tricks, I think Angela Hill, she's gonna get this TKO, and I'm very confident about this one after
Oh
after
my
reading it
God.
out. I like it.
Very confident. Okay, well then, again, guys, you pick the takes you think are better when it comes to this stuff, but we are split once again. All right, Chase is
Oh yeah.
taking Angela Hill. I am taking Jingnan Zhang.
Yes,
All right.
absolutely.
Next up is Ray Tsuruya versus Jesus Aguilar. Tsuruya is 10-1. He is 1-1 in the UFC after 3 wins on road to UFC. His win is over Carlos Hernandez by unanimous decision. His loss is to Joshua Van by unanimous decision. He was undefeated before the Joshua Van fight. 4 wins by knockout, 4 wins by submission. Aguilar is 12-4, 3-2 in his last 5. His wins are over Luis Gurule by unanimous decision, Stuart Nickel by submission, and Mateusz Mendoka by split decision. His losses are to Sumudaerji and Rafael Estevam, both by unanimous decision. He has 7 sub wins, and 1 knockout. He has been subbed once and never knocked out himself.
This is heartbreaking to me because Jesus Aguilar is listen, shout out the Mexican underdogs. This is one of those dudes that in every single one of his fights, he is the underdog. They have never once thought that he is going to win one of his UFC bouts. And credit to him because he's done it before. I mean, I'm not saying that he's a consistent winner. He's obviously not at this point, but he shows flashes. He fights like somebody who is trying to win you some money, and I really kind of respect that out of him. But I hate to break it to you guys, Ray Tsuruya may not be Tatsuro Taira, but in the grappling department, he's formidable, and his striking hopefully is going to look a lot tougher after he faced Josh Van. It's a long layoff, a lot to learn. He just saw his buddy Tatsuro. There's a lot to learn here from the best striker in the division that you already fought, kind of deal. Jesus Aguilar is not going to be that on the feet, so I think Ray Tsuruya will have an easier time navigating that. But the thing about Jesus Aguilar is he is a guy who will jump gilly. He will try to go for every submission that he thinks he can get in that moment. And I just think Ray Tsuruya will put his neck in a choke. Jesus will go for it. and he will not get it, and then he will be on the bottom and not get up, unfortunately. The round 2 will start, he'll be on the feet, and he'll look like he's ready to throw down, and then he whiffs, falls, Ray Tsuruya trips him, does something, now we're on the ground again. I see a 30-27 victory for Ray Tsuruya. I would not even be surprised if we get a submission win from Ray Tsuruya.
Wild takes here. So this is another one where I went back to listen to our previous episodes when it came to Ray Tsuruya. Ray Tsuruya is the one that sticks out the most is the Carlos Hernandez fight. You had some decent things to say about Tsuruya in that fight. I thought that it was just atrocious. I mean, like Hernandez was getting out of a lot of positions. Tsuruya had a one-track mind, and then that carried over into the assessment of the Joshua Van fight. Same thing. Ray Tsuruya had the one-track mind, and Joshua Van was able to navigate that all very effectively. So this is going to be wrestling all day long. I mean, that's all this fight's going to be. Aguilar at least is a little bit more dynamic, I thought, than Ray Tsuruya. Like we talk about one dimensional. Like I said that about Amorim. Ray Tsuruya, that's exactly what I said about him in previous assessments. One dimensional to the core. So I mean, neither of these guys are going to be great with their striking for sure. But I think that Aguilar is at least a little bit more dynamic than Tsuruya. He's never shown any actual dynamism. The same, you kind of want to compare him to Tatsuro. That's night and day difference as far as what I recall and what I've seen from him. So for those reasons, I am going to be going with Jesus Aguilar on this one. He is the smaller guy, so that might be one of the things that's going to be a problem for him. I could see what you're saying. Oh, you know, weird situations, weird attempts at things could make the dynamics a little bit different. But I think that he should be, at least at this point, with the veteran status of having been in the organization as long as he has been, he should be able to navigate those positions well enough to find the victory himself.
See, and that's where it comes down to, do I want to trust the guy who has not shown me much improvement? You know, every one of Jesus Aguilar's fight is the same thing. You know, he's the shorter guy. He's got to try to break the range. He never really breaks the range. It gets to the ground, but he's never on top. You know, like, it's unfortunate to say, but Ray Tsuruya, it goes two ways. It goes, he learned that, oh, I can't just grapple. I just got my head beat in by Josh Van, you know, and arguably finished with the body kick, you know. Ref stopped it, but it was clean. Whatever you want to say. He is going to learn from that, and he's going to have a more confident level of strike. He just saw with Tatsuro, you know, you can't just fucking wait there. You're going to get punched in the face, brother. Maybe he might have some level to the game where he looks like he's been doing some kickboxing and, you know, whatever you want to say. Or he maybe doesn't take it. You know, he's 23 years old. We all can't have the best thoughts. If he watched that Josh Van fight like a fan of the sport, you would say, Josh Van's just special. You know, like, what was I supposed to do against somebody who's now the champ, who just beat the best Japanese fighter? I'm not even that, you know? So maybe he doesn't come in with a new kind of revamped game plan, and maybe he just sticks to what he knows. Because again, we make dumb decisions. You have your first loss in your career. Do you want to just believe that it was just the best guy in the world? Or do you want to try to get better and believe that there's room for improvement? So it is unfortunately one or two of those for if Ray Tsuruya is what he comes into this fight bringing. But I think the Japanese fighters, they have really good teams. They have really good camps. They seem pretty smart to me. At 23 years old, I think Ray Tsuruya is going to be able to make those changes that can definitely keep him in the division. I mean, two Japanese fighters, three at that point, you know. So shout out Ray Tsuruya. I really think he's going to make improvements. I would like to go with the dude who I thought had potential and then just had a bad run at matchups. You know, he was on the shit end of the stick kind of deal when it came to Josh Van. I think improvements will be made, and I'm going to take Ray Tsuruya.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be my point too, is that he is only 23. So, I mean, there is certainly room for improvement. And if he's smart about things, then yeah, improvement is what you will see in this fight. So go out there and show me those improvements and, you know, prove it wrong. But based on what I've seen out of him, I have been very less than impressed. Like, I think that he does not fit the archetype. Like, you know, when you talk about the Japanese fighters and the good camps and all of that kind of stuff, like, I mean, the camp part might be true, but like, he does not fit the archetype of like what you want out of like an up and coming good Japanese fighter to me. I don't think I'm seeing those flex in him.
I think, listen, I'm not going to say I agree or disagree with that point itself, because Horiguchi and Tatsuro, they are different than Tsuruya. But and this maybe speaks to this next person that I'm going to compare him to. When I see Ray Tsuruya, I don't see much different between him and Nakamura, and maybe that speaks to the point that maybe Nakamura is not really going to be the greatest of all, but the wrestling, grappling heavy guys, they do rely on it a lot, but it is very effective. They know that the confidence that they have in their grappling is there. They just have to be able to prove that they're something to worry about on the feet, because that's what's going to create the openings to get people to the ground.
Oh no, I mean
So
I get you with that. I'm just
mm,
saying, like I don't, but like if you're going into that, like and not like if he shows me that in this fight, then fair. But like if he's going to rely on that against this guy who is also coming from the exact same starting point, then I think you're just going to have a lot of exchanges, and then it's really may the best man win in that. And I think that Aguilar does have the ability to be the better man based on his tenure.
yeah.
So that's
I like being split on this one. I feel it's unfortunate that I'm not going with my boy Jesus, but sometimes you really just got to make a business call. Some people are 10-1, some people are 12-4. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like if this was a different opponent that was striker heavy, then like, and again, Raceruya has a prime opportunity right here to become that, because we just saw Aguilar lose to Sumudaerji, who is about as middle of the road as you can get when it comes to the division, but he used his range and his length very effectively with the striking to just neutralize everything that the smaller Aguilar was trying to do. So if Raceruya does come out here and just become like a kickboxer overnight, then there's probably a great victory in this for him. So if he shows that kind of evolution, then I will gladly take the L on this. And go ahead, Raceruya, become the man.
I'm ready for it. Losing to Josh Van is going to open a lot of people's eyes now. That like, yeah, you face the best in the world. Like, so you better get with it or get out, because that's the meta right now, is beat your fucking head in and just get up off the ground. So whatever.
Yeah, I mean, because going back again, listening to our assessment of the Josh Van fight, again, I said Race Ruya very one-dimensional, considering that Josh Van was able to stuff the takedowns and then make him look foolish on the feet. So I mean,
Yep.
like go out here and don't look foolish on the feet.
Yeah, but have some confidence that he's the last guy to make you look foolish on the feet, and you just got to give him hats off because he's just that good.
Right.
Jesus Aguilar, if he makes you look foolish on the feet, now we're starting to see the progression of a not great fighter. So
For sure. Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll see what happens there.
yeah.
All right. Next up is Aoriqileng versus Cody Haddon. Aoriqileng is 26-12. He is 2-1-1 in his last 5. His wins are over Cody Gibson by knockout, Johnny Munoz by unanimous decision. His losses are to Raul Rosas Jr. by unanimous decision and Ayman Zahabi by knockout. He had a no contest with Daniel Marcos. 9 wins by knockout for Aoriqileng, 1 win by submission. He's been knocked out 1 time, subbed 3 times. Lots of decisions for this guy. Cody Haddon is 8-1. He is 5-0 in his last 5. 1 win in the UFC after a sub win on the Contender Series. That win is over Dan Argueta by unanimous decision. Only loss is a unanimous decision loss to Steve Erceg in Eternal MMA. Every win prior to his UFC win over Argueta was by finish. 5 knockouts, 2 submissions for Cody Haddon.
This is an interesting one, because I had to get a little refresher. The only thing that I knew about Cody Haddon coming into this one, obviously I've seen him before. I remember the Argueta, his Contender Series fight, and losing to Steve Erceg way early on his career. I mean, it's pretty interesting, because now like I competed against somebody who's at the highest level. That should give you a little confidence. But I was thinking that Aoriqileng was what's the other guy? Sumudaerji. I was like, oh, Sumudaerji's gonna piece this dude up. But now that I'm more contextualized here, there was tweets going around, because it's Cody Haddon Fight Week, of course, and the Aussies have to gas him up or whatever. They're like, man, Cody Haddon's head movement is so cold, and then they play like a little video of him or whatever, and it's like, I don't really remember taking away that this dude had the best head movement in the game, but I normally don't pay attention too much about this, but I will let it slide. Finish rate looks good for Cody. The experience is definitely in Aoriqileng's, corner, but he definitely seems, oh gosh, the chin, man, the chin on him is probably going to hold up. That's the craziest part. So is Cody Haddon going to be able to beat the life out of him for 2 rounds and then make it to the bell? I think yeah. I think yeah. Um I think this is a pretty good. I mean, I would be surprised to see the numbers on this one, the odds, of course, but I'm going to take Cody Haddon for sure. I think this is. I again, when I was thinking it was Sumudaerji. Again, that's probably not even the same weight class or whatever, but I was sure that he would win. But now that I remember who Aoriqileng is, the chin is going to hold up, but Cody Haddon should be able to just kind of make this look good. I'm not saying it's the head movement that's going to do it. The striking should look pretty crisp because, from what I remember, decent striking, but I can't tell you too much more about him. But go ahead, Thinker.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one for me for that exact reason. That Aoriqileng, another dude with a very large record, a lot of pedigree here, 26-12. Kind of split in his last couple, a lot of decisions, like I had said. It's hard to think that up and comer Cody Haddon is just going to let this guy have his way. But at the same time, I mean, veteran status, does that play more of a part than Cody Haddon having a good night? This is a very tough one for me for that exact reason. I do think that this probably goes goes the distance. I don't think that either of these guys is going to finish it necessarily. Although we did just see Aoriqileng knock out my dude Cody Gibson, which is a hurtful thing to see, but a nice notch in the belt there. With the 9 knockouts of Aoriqileng, obviously there's some power there. I mean, has Cody Haddon been tested that way? I don't know. I mean, Steve Erceg would lead you to believe that maybe, right? But that was early on in Erceg's career. So
he took him to decision. I mean, third fight in his career. I don't know how, but you know what? Let's actually double check. How many fights into Steve Erceg's career was that? I think that might be a good, because if it was both of their third fights, I mean, obviously, but if Steve Erceg had a little bit of experience on him, I mean, yeah, I mean, this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is after Steve Erceg had won a belt in Eternal MMA. I don't know if he just like vacated or something because he fought Cody Haddon after and won by unanimous decision. So decent amount of experience, championship level experience for a regional promotion kind of deal. Cody Haddon just might be on that way up. We've been waiting for the newer age of Australian guys. We know it's not going to be Georgie Mangos.
yeah,
Cody Haddon,
true.
here you go.
I think I'm also going with Haddon on this one based on what we've been talking it through. I think that what?
I was gonna say it's not thickness either. So I mean, we,
Yeah,
we
well,
can't we gotta get one out of them.
yeah, absolutely. I think that yeah, like Aoriqileng is like that exactly that baseline kind of fighter that like should be if you are going to be in the UFC and like you're wanting to make like an actual run for this thing, you want to actually be like a fighter in this organization in the long term. Like this is the exact level of fighter that you need to be able to beat. Dan Argueta does not give me like a ton of confidence, like as far as like, oh yeah, this guy is next up after a win like that. Unanimous decision win over Argueta. Like if I'm starting to see finishes in the organization, I'd have a little bit more confidence. But I'm gonna side with the Australian on this one. I think that coming in, being a little bit hungrier, perhaps. Aoriqileng having the unanimous decision loss to Raul Rosas. If Haddon can get his hands on him, maybe he makes that a little bit more difficult to have the striking going. He has been knocked out by Ayman Zahabi. There's, I think, potentially maybe a finish in this for Haddon. I don't know. I think that it ends up going to decision, but I think Haddon, as the hungrier fighter, maybe gets the job done.
I would like to believe that this is going to go to decision. I did see the finish by Ayman Zahabi, but if you're on my side these days, you would know that he might have been a dog all along. So. Cody Haddon, I would say, is going to go to decision for sheer fact that Aoriqileng's head is as square as they come.
It
So
is true. Also, it must be noted that the no contest with Daniel Marcos was the time when Aoriqileng went nuts first into an upstretched foot. Like, Daniel Marcos was basically going for an up kick, and he jumped directly nuts onto the kick. It
Pogo
was,
sticked it. Okay.
yeah, it was just about as direct impact as you could ever see in your life, and it always sticks out in my mind. And any time that I am reminded of that, it needs to be stated.
So when they called that, just for clarification, when they called that fight, did they say by way of what was the?
By way of testicle loss.
Gotcha. Good
Yes,
deal.
it was a testicle knockout actually.
Gotcha. Love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal.
So, but yeah, no. So yeah, this is a tough one for me to call. I don't have I'm not feeling like strongly about this one like I was about some of the other ones, but I will go with Haddon.
Absolutely. I definitely feel stronger about Angela Hill, which is the craziest part here.
I cannot wait for that fight just to see how that one goes down now.
Oh yeah.
All right, next up, this is one that I have a much stronger opinion about. This is Ding Meng versus Jose Henrique. Sorry, I just want to adjust that. There we go. Ding Meng versus Jose Henrique. Ding is 34-9. He is 3-2 in his last 5. This is his UFC debut after a unanimous decision loss on the Contender Series in 2024. UD lost in his last fight. 2 wins by knockout before that. Unanimous decision loss before that, and 7 knockout wins before that. So a little bit of a checkerboard there, but 7 knockouts in a row before that. Brother has 27 knockouts on his record.
Yes,
29 finishes. Yeah. 29 finishes total, 2 submissions, 2 knockout losses, 2 submission losses, only finished 6 times in 9 losses and 43 fights. Has not fought since August of 2024 on the Contender Series, though. So keep that in mind for all of this.
On my birthday, by the way.
There you go. Happy late birthday to you. Henrique is 8-1. He is 4-1 in his last 5. This is also his UFC debut after a knockout loss on the Contender Series in 2022 as well. Also from the Contender Series loss, that is, in 2022. 6 wins by knockout, 1 loss by knockout. Also has not fought since November of 2024. So both these guys coming off of long layoffs and losses on the Contender Series.
This one is an interesting matchup because when you think of the Contender Series, you're like, oh yeah, you win and you're impressive, you get into the organization. No, sometimes you just compete, get knocked out, and you just show up. You just show the fuck up, you know? And it's funny because this dude's 8-1. His last 3 fights, he fought the same dude twice. And then before that, he lost. So pretty funny. I can understand why they would do the rematch. I mean, he knocked that dude out in 5 seconds before the fight ends or whatever. So fair play that they run it back, majority decision, whatever. He lost in the Contender Series by knockout, but that's none of my business. Now, Brazilian might be a tough guy. That's fine. I'm not seeing anything that makes me believe that he's going to be as skillful as I believe. But the thing that is key to note, most Brazilians, not making a stereotype, but from what I would say, he potentially could be one of these massive fucking Brazilians that cut so much fucking weight that even across from a Chinaman who is 6'2", which I want you guys to think about this. 6'2" from this is kind of an anomaly when it comes to this is a ginormous dude when it comes to this region of fighters. And I think it's very important, we got to see some guys win. I would like to believe that this dude might come out here. Like if you look at this dude right here, he looks like he is ruthless. His nickname's like the Assassin or something. He looks like he smokes cigarettes in a booth. I know I say that about a lot of people, but this guy right here is looking like it. And that normally means that you're gonna do some good. And like you've mentioned, this dude has 27 knockouts. Whether that's real knockouts or just to get the bill paid on the tab, I don't know. But 6'2" Chinese guy, I want to believe that this is some good stuff here. With the amount of experience, I just don't think you could do wrong here. 31 is still like right in the prime of his time. It's like, okay, it's now time to let's see if the life's going to come true. 24 years old, you've already got knocked out on the Contender Series by the first jump in competition. That was 3 fights, so he was 5-0 at the time. So it's unfortunate, but you got jumped into this opportunity. You got knocked out. You come back, get 3 wins, and now you're going against a dude who has over 40 pro bouts. So I just, the Chinese guys got this, bro. I like Ding, and Ding Meng is Ding. Come on, Ding, and the dude that when he knocks him out, it's literally going to be a ding.
Exactly. Yeah. No. The name goes hard, and yes, it has the onomatopoeia about it as well.
Yes.
Yeah. No. I also am going with Ding Meng. I mean, I think that this, the thing that really swayed me is that Henrique has no submission wins at all. So there's no. This is going to be on the feet. If this is going to be on the feet, and dude has 27 knockouts, brother. I mean, like, come on.
And you've already been knocked out.
Right. Exactly. And you've already been compromised too. Now, I mean, Meng, I believe, has also been knocked out.
2 times.
Yeah, exactly. So 2 knockouts for, on against him. So I mean, it's not like he's impervious to being knocked out, but at the same time, I just think that this dude, with the level of pedigree here, and again, having a streak of knockouts. This dude had a streak of 7 knockouts in a row before a little smattering of differences there, and then 2 more knockouts after a loss. So I mean, like, this dude is a knockout machine as far as what his record would be showing us. Now, will he be able to do that against this guy specifically? I don't know 100%, but based on what the stats and the history has said, I think the Jingnan takes this fight.
I think there's interesting information that I just found out here, and this is
Yeah.
so he's 27 knockouts, 2 times being finished. Well, one of those was a TKO corner stoppage, so they stopped him from continuing. So he had nothing to do. He was perfectly about to go in there, is what it seems like from what I would read there. And then also the other knockout that he has, and this is where it gets really unfortunate. It was his debut in one championship. Wait, sorry. No, I'm sorry. Where's this at? I'm sorry. It wasn't his debut. It was his second fight in one championship. He got knocked out in the first round by a guy who has one professional bout ever, and it is the knockout on him.
Yikes.
So, and that was back in 2019. Never
He
competed
could
again.
he could have been a Muay Thai guy or something. I don't know. Somebody who's competing in a
True.
different sport.
That's a really good point. And maybe and that's maybe that builds to the loss not really being all that. Like, oh yeah, he went against a a kickboxing legend or whatever, and he fucking kicked him in the head in the first round. Like, what can you do? But from what I'm seeing, I mean, guys, there's no way you don't take Mr. Ding Dong here.
Oh my God, saying that and calling him a Chinese slur as well. Chase, you're on a roll tonight. But
Wow. Yeah.
all right. But either way, no, I think that Ding Meng, I mean, based on, again, purely off of the analytics right now, I mean, what will this fight go exactly that way? We will, of course, wait and see. But I did think it was a little odd that both of these guys had a long layoff, though. You know what I mean? Like these two dudes, not, very just taking long stretches of time off.
It's not even about the time laid off. I mean, yes, that is an issue, but it's the fact that they're even here when neither of them have, when people at 5-0, you're too green, of course, but 3 more bouts after, brother, you're only 8-1. You just got knocked out 3 fights ago. I don't see why you're here. I'm not going to lie to you. And then when it comes to Ding Meng, I mean, you've
Because
had an
we're in
illustrious
Macau.
career. I mean, I get that one for Ding Meng, but like, again, you lost on Contender Series. You didn't go to Road to UFC. It's like, aren't we supposed to be funneling our talent through, like, I don't know. It's kind of weird to me, isn't it? No?
I mean, but no, again, like I said, we're in Macau, bro. We need a nice win for Ding Meng in front of the
True.
hometown.
I'm with it. I think Henrique is signing up for a lot here. He might think he's going to come upset the world, but I don't think that that's what's going to happen here.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be getting to see his picture added to ESPN, is what I'm saying.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it. So we'll see what happens in that one. And then your featured prelim here is an interesting one. This is Yi Sak Lee versus Luis Felipe Diaz. Lee is 8-1. He is 4-1 in his last 5. This is his UFC debut. He is a Korean middleweight. 7 of his 8 wins are by finish, 4 by knockout, 3 by submission. He has a loss by submission. 1 decision in his career is a unanimous decision win for him. Aside from his first 2 fights at an organization called TFC, he has never fought in the same promotion twice in a row. I thought was interesting. So kind of goes to your point about, being more well-versed just by being around different areas of the world, perhaps. And of course, he is Korean, so different than the records that you would be getting from the Chinese competitors. On the other side, Diaz is 17-5. He is 3-2 in his last 5. This is his UFC debut after a win on the Contender Series. He is a Brazilian middleweight. 8 wins by knockout, 8 wins by sub. Another well-rounded guy. 3 fight finish streak, including the Contender Series round 2 submission win. He's been to decision 3 times in 22 fights. He is 1-2 in decisions.
Key to know, you specifically pointed that out, that he is a Brazilian middleweight. This is a light heavyweight fight.
Well, then isn't that interesting?
It is very interesting because how often do you see us, again, this goes back to listen, the Asian regions, we just don't get many guys that are in these larger weight classes. We have a South Korean who is in light heavyweight. I think this is, as of right now, an anomaly. And when you think, I mean, middleweight, sure, maybe there's a reason that they're moving up. Maybe it was scheduled a little late, and that's what they decided. I don't know, but at that size, and for me personally, when it comes to the Korean guys, if they are striking base, I'm cool for it. They fight like their fucking lives are on the line, and I am down for it. But this dude, he's been submitted. Don't get me wrong. He doesn't have the greatest submissions because he's been submitted, but he also does have 3 submissions to his name. So he's not a noob. He's well versed when it comes to it. He's experienced a submission loss, and he came back from that and got submissions on top of that as well. And the fact that he's never been finished on the feet, he's got 4 knockouts to his name. I mean, the Brazilian guy does have a lot of experience, but 26 years old for the Korean guy. I'm hesitant to believe that this dude will get a first round knockout, and I think I'm going to live on that hill right there.
For the Korean, for Lee.
Yes, we're going to get the Korean guy to get a first round knockout for sure.
All right, interesting. I'm going to go with Diaz. I mean, getting the win on the Contender Series, 8 wins by knockout, 8 by sub. So he's a well-rounded guy. He can hold his own on the ground as well as on the feet. I mean, the fact that he's only been to decision the 3 times in the 22 fights, he's obviously a finisher in a general sense as well. I just think that the well-roundedness is obviously there based on the record. Now, being at a higher weight, I think also kind of plays a little bit into his strengths more than to Lee's strengths, I would say. If they are both middleweights at core, you'd think that the Korean would be a little bit better with the movement, but the added weight might slow that down a little bit. And, I think that Diaz might have the advantage on there too. So I'm going to go with Diaz.
Here's my big brain take, because when I
Yes.
look at Diaz, he has been finished twice, on the feet. Submissions, I'm not really worried about that. When it comes to on the feet, both of the times that he's been finished are in the 3rd round. So I'm hesitant to believe that he takes a lot of damage and he wears, and at the end of the fight, they either have to step in or he falls. So and that's not every time, of course. That's just the 2 specific losses that he's been finished, on the feet. I would like to believe that we're gonna somehow see like a Marco Tullio situation where like this dude is really crazy and then just gets fucking obliterated by a dude. Like, like looks really good on the feet and then just a one shot. Like, Marco Tullio, all credit to him, he could take an ass whooping, but uh, eventually you falter kind of deal. And I
Right.
think the Korean guy really just might be able. I think Diaz might just look really reckless. He might try to just get his hands on him, get him to the ground, and the Korean guy just might. I think the first round knockout is still valid in my play because he's clearly, at least for my big brain take, taking a lot of damage. It wears on him. You can't do that forever, brother. There's going to be one guy who's going to just sleep you like real early in the fight. So if you think that you're just going to walk in there, little hands kind of curious, you might just get checked real quick, and that's just the Korean guy walking off in victory. Like, I don't
It
know.
is true. And I mean, look at it, because this is Lee's debut as well. This is basically Contender Series Part 2. I mean, this is not a guy with a tenured organizational experience. So I think that the thought process could very well be correct. Honestly, not enough information really based on, the fact. I mean, the fact that this is the featured prelim kind of speaks to that. They're thinking that there's something here. The fact that it's at the higher weight when both of these guys are middleweights, maybe there's a little bit more, like let's give them that extra weight so that they can just be 100% like no weight cut problems, whatever. Let these guys both get in there and just do their thing, put on a show kind of thing. If that's the case, then I'm just hoping for a really good fight out of it. But the fact that the guy does have the Contender Series win, and again, really to me, it goes back to the 8 by knockout and 8 by sub. Like the fact that he has a well balanced finish rate on both areas, like that's what I think is leading my decision making. It's like if he's good on his feet and on the ground, then there's a lot of different ways for him to win.
I think the last thing that I will know about our Brazilian guy's record, and this goes to the point, you're talking about 8 and 8. That's fine. That sounds really good. I do love it. But normally when I see these Brazilian guys, and we see a lot of middleweight, light heavyweights when it comes to Brazilians, I don't have one recognizable name on his resume. How many times has that happened? Everybody has lost to each other when it comes to the Brazilians. If you are good, you meet each other back in the UFC. This dude has not fought anybody that looks like, I mean, and he's lost earlier on in his career, like even earlier in the regional scene, his second fight he lost. Okay, big whoop. Well, he suffered his first knockout, 8 fights in or whatever. I'm just not thinking this dude's really as big and bad because how didn't you run into a RoboCop? How didn't you run into yada yada yada? Where are all these big names that are into the UFC right now that are at those weights? Like, how the fuck you ain't fight none of them?
Yeah, no,
I'm
I mean,
just
you make sense there, but I mean, has Lee fought? I mean, I don't know. Has Lee run into anybody that we should be aware of too?
one, I say it's different because of the region. We don't have many guys these statures, but let me take a quick look. I do not believe so. Just to double check. Nobody. I mean, these are not names that I'm necessarily going to recognize right off the bat, but I think sky's the limit for somebody who's 8-1 that we know nothing about. Of course, Diaz, I also know nothing about. I can just look at the records and make assumptions, but um 26 years old, this is not somebody who they wanted Korea, whoever was, his team, they were like, you are going to the next level. There's no reason for you to be on the regional circuit and do road to the UFC or end up going be like these Chinese fighters that do was like 36-9 or whatever the fuck it was. Like there's no reason for that. You are obviously better than this. I would like to believe that Yisak Lee,
Hmm.
I kind of like it, man. Let's go.
All right, I'm with it. Well, we will, we'll split on this and we'll see what happens.
You're taking Diaz.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Taking Diaz.
Ooh, it's gonna be a good one. It sucks because one of us is not gonna be right at all.
I know. Oh yeah, no, we're split. We're split on a lot of these on this go around. So this will be an interesting one for sure. We
Yes.
shall see. All right. Next up is more. Okay, now we're finally getting into main card. So these are names that you'll probably be a little bit more familiar with. So this is Alex Perez versus Sumudaerji, as you were mistaking our dude Aoriqileng for earlier. So Alex Perez versus Sumudaerji. Perez is 26-10. He is 2-3 in his last 5. His wins are over Charles Johnson and Mateus Nicolau, both by knockout. His losses are to Asuo Mabayev by submission, Tatsuro Taira by knockout, and Muhammad Mokayev by unanimous decision. Sumudaerji is 19-7. He is 3-2 in his last 5. His wins are over Jesus Aguilar and Kevin Borjas, both by unanimous decision, and Mitch Raposo by split decision. His losses are to Charles Johnson by unanimous decision and Tim Elliott by submission.
He also got submitted by Matt Schnell. We have
Yeah, I
to
mean
throw
that's
that
that's a
one out there,
while
by the
back. I
way.
only go off
Yeah.
the top, the most recent 5 for those, by the way.
Well, it is a while back, but for context, it is just the 6th fight. It's 5 fights that you do. The 6th one is a
Fair, yeah,
submission
fair
by
enough.
Matt
Yeah,
Schnell. So I think that
absolutely.
is very fair, very key to point. But this one, I listen, I am now a big fan of Alex Perez. This guy, he does have that dog in him. He is a grown to see. But if you all spade a spade, if you look at his weight, 128 is because he has been not making a step up on short notice to go ahead and fight. I forget who it was, but he said he's not going to make the weight. I can't do it, so I'm not going to step up. I think that is obviously going to play a factor in this. Whether the weight cut is good, whether he makes weight, the weight cut still could have been bad. He's already struggled with this before. He's probably a bantamweight at this point, but he's still trying to make the weight. Potentially could miss, could get a catch weight, could get it called off, could get sick. Who knows what factors come into this fight? Alex Perez, though, when it comes to what I expect out of this fight, if all goes well, I unfortunately think Sumudaerji has the range and the striking to just keep it on the outside. Perez is kind of a little dog. He'll get inside and he's good at breaking the range. But Sumudaerji's footwork is pretty good. He's gonna just be able to circle out every time this dude comes in and does this. Like he's just gonna be on the other side of him, and that's because Alex Perez is one of these dudes who will put his head down and just throw. But the thing is, Sumudaerji's head is always on the swivel. He's behind you while you're still closed eyes running at the cage. So I think Sumudaerji just pops him up. And I know this is a guy who has gone to decision a lot in his last few. I think this is another knockout, man. I hate this for Alex Perez. He's got 13 knockouts. He's never been knocked out, and it's 13 out of his 19 wins. I know he's been submitted. They would tell you, they swear by it, that Alex Perez is a grappler. Well, he got submitted by Asu Amabayev in a standing
Fucking
guillotine.
easy, bro. He got submitted
He
by Sue by jump standing guillotine off of him just climbing up him.
and I'm not saying that this was anything he could have prevented, but he did get grappled and TKO'd by Tatsuro Taira. So this dude is not somebody that I would say, Sumudaerji has 6 submission losses, but Alex Perez is not no fucking grappler. This dude puts his hands up and he goes to fucking fight, and that's what I love about him. You can think he's a grappler, but when you get in there to fight with him, you're fighting somebody who's going to strike with you. And Sumudaerji, I think, is just going to navigate this very, very well, and it's going to be another first round knockout, man. Alex Perez chin is just not it's not going to be there, man. I hate to say it.
I mean, I don't know if I would go as far as to say it's going to be a knockout, but I am also going with Sumudaerji, and I'll tell you the reason why to me is because people will look at the most recent wins. As I said, I only do those last 5 just for the sake of the show, because we can't go through the entire record per fight, of course. But if you go back farther in Alex Perez's record, like people will say, Sue Amabayev, potential contender. Tatsuro Taira just fought for the belt. Muhammad Mokaev, potential contender if he ever gets back into the organization. If you go back in the record, though, his losses are further back are not great. I mean, this guy, and also his wins are not that great either. I mean, this dude does not have a strength of record that really lends himself to being those losses age well. But look at the wins that he has too, though. He doesn't really have that many Charles Johnson, sure. But he's a perennial, a divisional guy. So, he's kind of all over the place. He beat the champion and he loses to Alex Perez. You know what I mean? It's I wouldn't say that Charles Johnson is the greatest barometer, but I'm just going back point by point over Perez's record. It's not the strongest credentials on the planet. And then the losses as well. A lot of those losses, especially recently, not really, like I said about Asu. Asu literally climbed up this dude and just took his neck standing. You don't see that very often at high levels for a reason, but he made it happen. I think that your assessment of Sumudaerji is exactly correct. Long, rangy guy. Perez is a shorter, kind of stout guy. He wants to be able to get in on the inside for the striking. If Sumudaerji is going to stand in the pocket with him, then maybe he's got a chance. But Sumudaerji doesn't do that. He moves too effectively. He's on the outside. He'll be throwing his kicks. He'll be striking from range. He'll be moving, circling out, doing all of the same shit he did against Jesus Aguilar right here. So I think that Sumudaerji ends up taking this fight. I don't know if he's going to knock him out necessarily, but I do think that the only thing I could see is if Perez wants to actually get his grappling on. If he really wants to, just be balls to the wall, double leg takedown, shoot a football tackle on him or something like that. Maybe there's a chance there, but I just don't see it happening. I think Sumudaerji, even though he is just middle of the pack baseline, that's what you need to be as far as your base goes. Having that as the foundation, that to me is something that should be able to be enough. Good fundamentals should be enough to beat Perez.
What I'll say, and I hate to say it this way, but again, spade is a spade. I do make the commentary that is necessary. I truly believe that Alex Perez is somebody that deserves fans. I would hope that he knows that I am a fan when I say this, but I am also somebody who is trying to make the best judgment call when it comes to picking the fights correctly. Alex Perez is at a point in his career where his body fails him often. 2 of the fights that he was in, didn't go his way. He's missing weight. I already brought this up, but I think we are unfortunately in a scenario where a knockout comes and you're like, fucking heck, god damn it, he rolled his ankle or something, and then or he had a bad cut, and and we don't know that until he's walking out and they'll be like, man, he said he was shitting his brains out for 12 hours before this fight. Is anybody? And it's how did we not figure this out? How did we not know he got hit by a car yesterday?
Right.
I just, Alex Perez, all credit to you, much respect. Hope you know that I'm just making the call, brother, but I think TKO is coming.
I'm with it. All right. Well, then we will see on that one. We are in lockstep on this one.
Hell yeah.
Next up, fight, interesting to me at least. This is Muslim Salikhov versus Jake Matthews. Salikhov is 22-6. He is 3-2 in his last 5. His wins are over Carlos Leal and Song Kanan, both by knockout, and Santiago Ponzinibbio by split decision. His losses are to Uros Medic and Randy Brown, both by knockout. Matthews is 22-8. He is 3-2 in his last 5. His wins are over Chidi and Jukwani by submission, Francisco Prado and Phil Rowe both by unanimous decision. His losses are to Neil Magny by sub and Michael Morales by unanimous decision.
This one is good because if you guys have been keeping up with the podcast for a while, you have heard the Muslim Salikhov slander, the old man slander. I mean, he's going to get, it's not just him. It's not him specifically. It is the over a certain age conversation. And he does fit the build. So I do have to talk about it. But in this specific instance, Jake Matthews, I know he finished Neil Magny and they didn't give it to him. But that was one of the crazier moments that I don't know if you could get over.
I nearly put lost to Neil Magny by Lazarus submission, because it was like a submission that came back from the dead,
Yeah, that is insane that I have this. I know he beat Chidi, and I had Chidi in that fight, and he made quick work of him, submit him in the first round, no big deal. But Jake Matthews, he left an impression in my brain of this dude's a fuck up. How did you lose? Like, how did you lose that Neil Magny fight? Like, I understand that you had to finish, but you still had to finish strong, brother. Like to get finished by him, to get submitted to, like, it really just rubs you the wrong way.
You don't think it was the adrenaline dump and what all people always say about that kind of shit? Oh yeah, it was. He was already past the fight and then he had to get back in the fight.
In that specific scenario, maybe right. I'll give it to him, but in other ones, no, I'm not normally that guy. This one, though, with the stigma that I have on Jake Matthews, and for how good Muslim Salikhov still seems to be on the feet, not just good, but elusive. He's still very, very technical on the feet. He's very hard to read, and when you think that you have the read, that's where he catches you because he's very good at setting traps. Carlos Leal found out really, really quick, and I think potentially we could see something similar to that where it's just an easy, he just clocks him. Not necessarily a punch. He could get back to a spin kick. Jake Matthews totally seems like that type of dude who just puts his hands up and gets rocked with a fucking kick and now he's wobbling all over like I gotta go ahead and believe that Muslim Salikhov is gonna do it for the unks out there. And I hate to say it because I have always, your time comes. His time did come against Medic, and it showed right there. But Jake Matthews is the type of dude that I don't personally see to go out there and rush and bum rush the dude. And even if you do, you still could look like Carlos Leal. I would say it was a 50-50 for Medic that he won right there. I mean, it could have went other ways. Medic has been finished before. He's a finish or be finished guy. Muslim Salikhov, I mean, for the recent history, he's been a finisher or finished kind of guy. So I would love to believe that he would beat Jake Matthews by knockout. But I think the conscious decision would to believe that Jake Matthews can get a hold of Muslim Salikhov and take him down once and hold him down and score the rounds for 2 rounds. And then we get to the judge's decision. I don't think I see a finish here unless Muslim Salikhov just and I'm not saying he quit in his last fight, but if he just ups and falls out like an old man does, just falls over and this is a tough call. I don't know. I really don't know what I'm going to do. Go ahead, Thinker. Go ahead, talk it out.
I mean, really, I see this as kind of going to one of 2 ways. Either Salikhov does get the knockout kick that he is so known for, or Matthews can get the submission. But Salikhov has only been submitted twice. So, I mean, granted, yeah, I mean, yes, he has been submitted, but in 28 professional fights, only 2 times. I mean, that it's not like, I don't know. I'm not worried. It doesn't seem like, it doesn't scream submission threat to me in that, based on that. So for that reason, I'm like, Salikhov is a guy that it kind of defies his age, what we talk about with the older guys. Like, he's a dude that he certainly does not look like the guy that should be winning as much as he does, but he goes out there and somehow finds it. Matthews, a dude that he's been around for so long. I always bring this up every time that we talk about him, that he's like a veteran in the UFC. Like, he's been around forever, just kind of seemingly sort of under the radar. But I mean, things like the Neil Magny fight kind of throw everything into a bit of a tailspin too. My gut tells me that Matthews is the wiser choice, but then Salikhov comes out here and just does what he does. So I'm also in that same kind of boat of this is a hard choice to make. I don't know. I mean, like I want to say that Jake Matthews does find that submission. I think that's the wiser choice. I don't think that he's going to Uros Medic. I definitely don't think that he's going to come in here and like be kill or be killed. But I think that over the course of the fight, that he, if he grinds it out and makes it like a tougher fight for Salikhov than he's sometimes used to, if he goes and closes the distance and gets his hands on him, just makes it a dirtier fight, that I think could be the thing that sails Matthews to the win.
There's a couple things that stand out to me of why I think I'm more confident in Jake Matthews is because when you look at Muslim Salikhov's record, you do see decisions. Like he is capable to get there, and that's where I think I'm sticking. Is like, is Jake Matthews gonna to wear him down? But you have a split decision, and this is where I think is these two key ones, these split decisions here. Zaleski dos Santos, we know he's not all that,
Man, he's
and then the
gone.
other one is. And then Santiago Ponzinibbio, who we know is not all that. These are split decisions. He's going razor thin with the dudes who are just levels above the next guy that he beats, kind of deal. But he also has been KO'd by Li Jingliang, who's a fucking welterweight. So wait, Muslim is too. Sorry, I thought this was middleweight. But Li Jingliang knocking you out. I mean, how many times that dude knock somebody out? I mean, I don't really know.
How many
that
times? How many times Jake Matthews knock anybody out though?
True, fair. But then also, decision loss to Nicholas Dalby. So if you're able to get in his face and take him out of it, you know how Nicholas Dalby fights. If you're able to just take Muslim out of his element, I think Jake Matthews can get this one done. So what is your official pick? Because I'm going to go Jake Matthews.
So am I. I'm going Jake Matthews as well. I don't like it because I do like Muslim Salikhov a lot. I think that, the fact that he can somehow pull these victories off, if he can get another spinning wheel kick knockout, I'd be so happy. Like it would be, this would be a great way to be wrong. But like, it's like, how many times can you pull that off? Like, before it starts to become very predictable to these fighters. I would assume that Jake Matthews is watching tape, and B, just like before your body cannot have the speed to do it, have the speed to not let it be telegraphed and stuff like that. At 41 years old, I think that the runway for all of those flashy knockouts is starting to come to an end.
I think what's crazy is, me personally, I think the fighters, one, they know it's coming. Like they know that's in his arsenal. Obvious. He's got the most spinning kicks, knockouts, whatever. I think it comes down to these fighters really testing the old man's ability to throw a wheel kick. Like they're like, in your mind, he's a fucking old man. He's balding. No way is he gonna knock me out. He can't even get his leg up there? Like what are you expecting him to do when you see a man who's got the George Costanza type shit going? I mean, obviously he doesn't, but what you would think to see a man like that throw a wheel kick? You would not assume, oh, he's gonna crack me in my chin with his heel and I'm going to go out. So I think there's a level of testing it. Like we got to find out just how, but a lot of people have failed. So I think that's just an interesting part to the equation. But Jake Matthews, what's funny is Muslim Salikhov, to his credit, he is one, if not one of the best at an upset, because there's so many things that are just wrong in the situation. The king of kung fu, you hear that and you're like, all right, yeah, sure, pal. But then you see a 41-year-old man doing what he does and you're like, all right,
from
play,
Russia, no less.
Exactly. It's like a Russian striker who's aged, who's been doing this for fucking 30 years, who has his claim to fame, and it works. It is patented. That is his move, the spinning wheel kick. You want to talk about all the greatest kickers in the world? You have Stephen Wonderboy, you have MVP. No, it's this guy. It's this fucking guy.
I'm glad that you say that at the very least, because if both of us are going with Jake Matthews, I think it's a major disservice to Muslim Salikhov. I kind of want to go off of what we're saying. Like I want to, but I don't think that I can't. But like I do think that it needs to be acknowledged that Muslim Salikhov is one of the best kickers out there. I mean, This man has so many knockouts with the spinning wheel kick that and at the advanced age too. These are not like past era stuff. This is recent history that this guy has been doing this shit. So it's like there are guys that have been able to overtake him. I mean, again, getting knocked out by Uros Medic, that makes sense based on what we know about him. Randy Brown, kind of 50-50, I guess, at this point. I was a little bit higher on him before. He's starting to kind of prove to be maybe a little bit more middle of the road than I would have thought. But still, a guy that can get the win like that. So it's like these are not bad losses for Muslim Salikhov, but like what you said about the Santiago Ponzinibbio split decision, that does kind of like play the bigger part here. And again, Jake Matthews is the type of dude who is going to try to get his hands on him. And if he can do that, if he can control position in this fight, which I think he can, that's going to be the thing. But never let it be forgotten that Muslim Salikhov is a fucking G.
100%. Yeah, I will give respect where it is due. As much as he is Unk and his old man, and I have to root against him because I stand on business and Father Time catches everybody. That wheel kick, man, it is good. You know, I aspire to be able to do something like that at 41 years old, brother. You go ask the local 41-year-old to raise his leg. I guarantee it's not looking good. So
Hell yeah, very true. So, I hope both of us are incorrect on this one, but we're both going with Jake.
yeah, 100%.
All right, I guess it's got to be that way. So we'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, I guess that is the lock in for both of us.
Yep.
All right. Next up on the docket here, Kai Asakura. You know that name. He's going up against Cameron Smotherman. Asakura.
You know that name.
Yeah, you should be pretty familiar with him at this point. Kai Asakura is 21-6. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, and Smotherman too, right? Yeah, we'll talk about that. Kai Asakura is 21-6. He is 0-2 in the UFC. He is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. His losses are to Alexandre Pantoja and Tim Elliott. I forgot I didn't put the methods on that one.
Submission, both.
Yeah. So yes, thank you. Yeah, it is true. Submission for both of those. He, of course, is the former Ryzen Fighting Federation champion. He does have a prior win over Kyoji Horiguchi and Manel Kopp. He's 1-1 with Manel Kopp.
I did not know he beat Horiguchi as well. Okay.
Yeah, long while back at this point. But yes, he does have a win over Kyoji Horiguchi. Cameron Smotherman is 12-6. He is 1-2 in the UFC. He is 3-2 in his last 5. His wins are over Jake Hadley. His one win is over Jake Hadley by unanimous decision. His losses in the UFC are to Ricky Simone and Sergei Side, both by unanimous decision. He lost on the Contender Series to Charalampos Gregorio by knockout. He was on a 3-fight win streak in Fury FC after that, and then beat Jake and has been on 2 unanimous decision losses since then. And of course, you cannot forget that he nearly died after his last weight cut.
And so that is where the questions come. You know, for Kai Asakura, if you remember, he was competing in one, which the flyweight limit is 35. It is one step up from the UFC. So for him to cut down to to flyweight to join the UFC, it was sort of a test. Like, can I compete at the weight that, a lot of people are cutting all this weight? I'm more relaxed at 35. Let me see what levels I can push myself to, because if I can go do good at 25, then I can go to 35, and then I can do both and I can get that was maybe the idea. But I think coming in here at his more consistent weight that he's had success at, I think it'll be very interesting for him. I've had a lot of hope for Kai Asakura. He let me down against Tim Elliott. I was thinking the knockout was coming, but he's just not as good as Steve Erceg on the feet, I guess. But the point is that I would like to make about Cameron is, yeah, we've seen bad weight cuts. We saw William Gomi miss by -4 pounds. He came under 4 pounds. But we've seen interesting stuff happen like this. But this dude full on face planted after a weight cut. So it definitely is going to leave the question, is he going to be able to properly cut weight and make weight? Because it's not like he moved up weight classes. Maybe there was some extenuating circumstances at the time, but yeah.
Well, one thing I wanted to add to that is if you saw the video that he put out after all of that was said and done, he said that it was a perfectly fine camp. He said that there were no problems. He said that there was nothing that he could think of that was extenuating. He did say that he was going to go get checked out by the doctors and make sure that there's nothing else. So obviously, if he has been cleared to fight again, then there was nothing questionable, theoretically at least. But that was concerning to me. And obviously, I'm very glad that there was nothing wrong. But it is concerning to me that if the weight cut was as standard as they come, as no outside factors that would have led to that, for a normal weight cut to do that in and of itself is concerning. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I 100% agree. Yeah, I remember we briefly talked about that. Like, yeah, if you don't know what was wrong, something is then, brother.
Correct, exactly. And that's why I'm like, the fact that we're even seeing him listed for this fight, obviously they did all the tests. Obviously they're saying, okay, maybe just an anomaly, whatever the reasoning is there's a reason that he's able to be cleared. But it is certainly something that is, very much sticking out in the back of all of our minds, I would say.
And so with all that being said, I mean, I have no option but to pick Kai Asakura to win. Again, I took him by knockout in the last one against Tim Elliott, but I think this one is a way more feasible knockout. I mean, when you look at Pantoja, okay, I mean, obviously we're way steps down from something like that, but that should just show you how bad they want this to work out for Kai. For Kai, you know, they gave him the dude who face planted at the beginning of the year on a weight cut, like, and this is a dude who is a guy who gets knockouts at the lower weights. You know, this is a tee up, of course, to get him in a new division. You know, the flyweight experience didn't work. New division though, you come in with a knockout win. All right, shit, we don't have shit going to bantamweight right now.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that if you recall in the Ricky Simone fight with Smotherman, let's take the weight cut thing out of the equation.
Mhm.
Just talk about the fighting part here. If you remember in the Smotherman versus Simone fight, Simone was clinching him up at times, and he was doing the whole like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, what? Like, I mean, we just going to do this now? We're just going to do it. So obviously, he wants to strike. Like he's going to allow the striking to happen. I think that Kai Asakura, like you just outlined, being at a more natural weight, being a naturally gifted striker. Because I mean, with you talk about the Tim Elliott fight. Obviously, Tim Elliott comes with a whole bag of tricks that are very hard to figure out. I think that Asakura was just having a little bit of a problem trying to like intellectualize what he was seeing or whatever. Pantoja, completely different echelon. We can't, it's apples and oranges there. But like, if you're putting him up against just a straight, like bog standard striker that actually wants to engage in the striking, does not want to be playing these cage games and stuff like that, clinching up, reversing position, all that kind of shit. Like he just wants to go in there and like, let's just duke it out. I think that Asakura has the advantage in that regard.
You know, this is an interesting one, and this was definitely long ago. This was back in 2022 in Fury Fighting Championship. Cameron Smotherman has a split decision win over John Giannis.
I saw
Think
that
about that.
actually. Yeah, it's funny that you bring
So,
that up. Yeah.
as somebody who John Giannis, we know striker. You know, he's running in there to gun. You know, Cameron Smotherman was able to outlast that. You know, like from that fighter. So I'm maybe thinking like, but I gotta believe that Kai Asakura can really bring something different to the UFC. I mean, I
Is
you're
he
no,
better than Jake Hadley?
yeah, I would hope to
that's
God.
that's what I'm, you know what I mean? That's where my head is at. It's like, yeah, Asakura has not had a great run. That is certainly the truth. I think that there are extenuating circumstances. I'm at least going to believe that there have been extenuating circumstances when it comes to Pantoja and with Tim Elliott. We just described what those are. I think that if it's just a dude who wants to go out there and throw hands like a very standard striker affair kind of thing, I gotta believe that the former champion who has split a man's jaw in half, you know what I mean? Like I gotta believe that the history plays some portion in the decision making here when Smotherman has really not done much of anything except for beating Jake Hadley.
Yeah, and I think one, we saw Jake Hadley lose on the PFL over the weekend, so yeah, he's not looking good. So I'm very confident that Kai Asakura is better than him. But well, we'll see. Kai Asakura though, you're right with the Smotherman. I mean, this is not something out of the ordinary. This is a guy who's got technical boxing, and he'll stand with you. You know, I mean, you see that everywhere around the block. A guy who trains boxing. There's things that people do that separate them. Obviously, Tim Elliott is doing things that separate him. It's hard to catch a read. You know, uh, Pantoja, not Pantoja, Pantoja, yes, but Steve Urseg proved that a level of technicality can beat a sort of wild and unorthodox style out of Tim Elliott. I think Kai Asakura didn't have that opportunity. You know, he was too lost in the sauce, got taken down, eventually subbed. And then when you look at Pantoja, that is also somebody who, I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to that fight, Pantoja was confident that he was going to take every shot, and then once I've taken all of them, I'm just going to take you down and sub you. And Kaya Sakura, credit to him, he threw the kitchen sink at him in the first round. That dude ate every fucking shot, took him down and submitted him. Not everybody's going to be able to do that, but I think Smotherman is going to be standing in front of a lethal striker in Kaya Sakura. So I'm definitely going Kaya Sakura on this one.
Yeah, so am I. So am I. And I mean, Smotherman has an opportunity here to to do something that it will be very impressive if he can beat Asakura, because this is really like, again, if you look at those two losses in the UFC, like you can excuses, if you want to call them excuses or caveats, however you want to look at it, but you can at least rationalize those losses. Smotherman beating him in a straight striker versus striker matchup would be a very big feather in the Smotherman cap, I would say. So go out there and make it yours if you really want to be that guy. But I just don't see it off rip. So.
Yeah, this is such a crazy matchup to even be happening. They clearly gotta get Kai Asakura, and shout out to Tyler Betts. They want Kai versus O'Malley. I think as what the White House press conference has shown, O'Malley is not in no more. I would say they want Kai versus Peyton Talbot, but that's just me.
Could very well be that too. Interesting idea if that is the case. But for first, Kai has to get a win. Period. So let's see if
True,
he can actually do that.
100%. Yeah.
All right. Next up, going down the line, we've got Sergei Pavlovich, and he is fighting Tallison Teixeira, everybody's favorite big man, Tallison Teixeira.
The big guy, of course.
Yeah. All right. Well, Pavlovich is 20-3. He is 3-2 in his last 5. His wins are over Waldo Cortez Acosta and Jairzinho Rosenstreich, both by unanimous decision, and Curtis Blades by knockout. His losses are to Alexander Volkov by decision and Tom Aspinall by knockout. Was on a 6-fight win streak prior to the Aspinall loss, all by knockout. 2-1 since that fight, 2-2 if you include it. Prior to that, aside from one loss to Alistair Overeem, he was undefeated, 18-1 with the Overeem loss being that one. So keep all of that in mind. Teixeira is 9-1. He is 2-1 in the UFC after a win on the Contender Series. He is 4-1 in his last 5. His wins are over Tai Tuivasa by unanimous decision and Justin Tafa by knockout. His loss is to Derek Lewis by knockout. Prior to the Lewis loss, he was on an 8-fight win streak, all by finish, 7 knockouts, 1 submission.
This one is by far, and I truly mean this, and this is no shade to Sergei Pavlovich as a person. You know, Tallison, if you want to catch shade, by all means. Sergei seems like a cool dude. It just seems like he has not been able to be what he once was. But
The
what I
downfall, sorry, just to say the
no, go ahead.
downfall of Pavlovich is like one that I think is like, if he does not turn around like immediately, is going to be like the downfall of Pavlovich must be studied kind of thing. Cause like
Yeah.
we've never seen a guy go from being such a world ender to just being so mid. I mean, like
Yeah.
it really is bad, but sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine. And I think, I mean, you're setting great context because from what he once was and for what we know Tallison actually is, this has to be one of the more uninteresting fights at heavyweight. Like it's unfortunate because why is Tallison getting an opportunity against supposedly one of the 5, against the 5th best heavyweight in the world as of right now, or whatever you want to say. I mean, a lot of people are in line, but there's people out there who would like you to believe that Sergei Pavlovich is still pretty good. He just beat Waldo. He'd just beat Waldo, whatever you want to say. And that's a dude that Volkov kind of struggled with. A lot of people would argue that it didn't necessarily go that way, but Pavlovich, in my opinion, doesn't have that level of aggression that he once did. I'm not saying he's not willing, but his game plan is catered to not stepping in and taking big shots anymore. I mean, he clearly has seen that he can be knocked out. And his game is fine. Like he's got really solid boxing and he pushes the pressure, but I just unfortunately don't see the level of aggression in his last performances that I really want to. That being said, there's no possible way that Tallison is going to be able to beat Sergei, or let alone finish him. But what I would really hope is that Sergei is able to. I'm not saying I'm not saying he's going to be able to pull it out the fire for this one. I don't know, but I would like to believe that you don't need much of an aggression level to finish Tallison. If you put the pressure on him and the pace, we've seen with Tai Tuivasa, he literally has nothing after round 1. He literally still has nothing after round 1. If you get to round 2, Pavlovich, it is going to be an easy finish late. And I think if he doesn't finish Tallison, I mean, again, that goes back to the other ones. Waldo's a different story. That he's hard to finish. He doesn't get finished in the UFC. When it comes to Tallison, he doesn't get finished, but he very well needs to be. It's very easy of a thing that could happen if you give him the right opponents. Derek Lewis literally did it. So, Pavlovich, if you don't finish Tallison, it is a very sad realization of where your ceiling is, and that's just unfortunate because Tallison Teixeira is not a good heavyweight. It's just sad. I unfortunately hate it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen so much context now for both of these guys that I think the decision becomes very clear if you break it down based on the last couple of fights. Shout out to Hydra, by the way.
Yes.
So when it comes to Pavlovich, going off of like what we had said, yeah, I mean, the downfall is certainly a tremendous night and day difference. Very, very unfortunate that that is the case. But if you go back to the fights post beginning of the downfall here, after Volkov now with Waldo and Jairzinho, what we saw, at least in the Waldo fight, I think informs this fight a lot. Teixeira is a dude that if he can put the pressure on you and get you back down, that's where he has his success. Pavlovich fights the same way. He will get you to the cage and keep his big body in front of you and not let he'll cut you off. He'll almost keep you stationary. The problem with Pavlovich right now is that he'll do that and then not go for the power shot. And that's the thing that's baffling to me. Like he will get you backed up, but like to actually have the wherewithal or whatever he's lacking for whatever reason that is just gone is just that instinct to say, I've got you right where I want you. Here's the finishing blow. But regardless, if you don't let Tallison get his way and Pavlovich is like able to like kind of meet him in the middle on that, like you said, Tallison just is going to fold. If it's like goes past even a half of round one, Tallison Teixeira going analyzing off the last fight on his side, what we saw in the Tuivasa fight, this dude is a slim heavyweight. This is not a blobby dude. This is a tall, the lankier heavyweight. I mean, not lanky. He's got a little weight on his frame, obviously, but he's not a big man in that regard. He's tall, not fat. For whatever reason, still does not have cardio under those circumstances. So this dude getting backed up by Sergei Pavlovich, and even if Sergei doesn't go for the kill shot, he's still going to be able to put that pressure on and keep him off of his game, not allow him to do the things that he wants. That lasts for half a round, and then Sergei gets to do whatever the hell he wants. So that's how I'm looking at all of this. I mean, I think if you go fight over fight for both guys, looking at what they both bring to the table with this, it's a pretty clear shot for Sergei Pavlovich.
My thing, and this is the only reason I question this. If this was anybody else that I was believing is a true elite level striker, they would have no problem with this. It's like, oh yeah, they got it. When it comes to facing somebody who's taller than you, Sergei Pavlovich lost to Volkov, who we know as of what we've seen recently, he maneuvers games very, very well, but he's also one of these guys that if you touch him the right way, he shows you that he's not willing to take those big bombs. Pavlovich, he wasn't able to get past Volkov, and the height is really, and this is nothing like Volkov, by the way. But it worries me because Pavlovich is somebody that, again, he's left the image in my brain that he's folded before for simpler things, like, oh, he's best friends with Volkov. They used to play checkers. Well, I fucking can't beat him now, can he? But when it comes to Tallison, if I sit here and I'm like, oh my god, he can't fucking beat like he can't do it. I would be sick to my stomach to see some dude fucking fold to Tallison Teixeira, brother. But I don't think it's happening. Sergei Pavlovich is going to win by second round knockout.
I gotta believe it, man. I mean, like you said, the only thing that could happen is Tallison cashes him in the first round early. That's the only thing that could happen. I want to believe that. No, I mean, like the circumstances. Just remember the fact that the knockout from Tallison Teixeira over the Tafa was elbows at close range. Beautiful knockout. I mean, like that it was certainly great in those circumstances, but to allow Sergei Pavlovich allowing that to happen, that is what is, I'm thinking, the problem. Like, I don't think that Tallison has the power in his hands at range striking. At least not, we haven't seen it yet. If he does, then show it to me here, because we saw some range striking in the Tuivasa fight. Ty was able to tank that. I don't think that like the circumstances are right for Sergei Pavlovich to get folded. If it's going to happen, then Sergei stock will this will be the end of the fall off. You know what I'm saying?
The problem with this is, though, too, and this is why this is one of the more uninteresting heavyweight fights, is what does Sergey gain? If he's losing everything in this. If he wins by decision, it's like, yeah, this dude's not very good. We've known this. If he wins by knockout, it's like, thank God somebody finally proved that this dude could be knocked out. It's not necessarily meaning that Sergey is the world ender. It's like, somebody should have been able to expose this already, and Derek Lewis already did, of course. But
Well, but that's what Sergey gains, is that it's like, oh, he can still knock people out. Thank God,
I don't think he gains any. I don't think he gains that narrative, because knocking anybody out is different from knocking out Tallison Teixeira, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. This is a dude whose biggest claim to fame is beating Justin Taffa. Like, this isn't even Junior Taffa we're talking about. At least if it was Junior Taffa, you could be like, oh, dude got a couple wins. But Justin Taffa is like 5-4. Like, I don't know, crazy.
Yeah, I again, it's really just trying to cling to relevance, really trying to build back what you already had. I don't think that we're really doing enough justice to who Sergei Pavlovich once was. And it's understandable why. There's a narrative that has been formed based on his previous performances now that is informing that. But if you go back, Sergei Pavlovich was the unbeatable man for a while here. He was the boogeyman of the division. Going into the Aspinall fight, it was like, this could be the guy. This is going to be the dude that's going to make it so that, Tom is knocked off the pedestal. And it just was not that. So, I don't know if it's what Hydra is saying, that, Tom changes people. I don't necessarily think that is the end all be all of it, but something has changed one way or another. Something has changed in Pavlovich. This, I think, is maybe an opportunity to at least mount the interest in seeing if that's not the case. You know what I mean? Being like, okay, well, he gets a win over this, essentially nobody-ish kind of guy, whatever. Can he then stay around to regain some of his aura? Aura, this dude had aura for a long time. And like, the fact that it is completely gone now is just, it's a crazy turn of events.
I feel bad for what I'm going to say, but I truly do mean it, that Tallison and Kevin Christian, they will make the meanest front court on a basketball court in Brazil. Like, they are going to be killer when this dude's out of the organization, but it's okay.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, again, at least Tallison has like the win to keep him around. Kevin
He
Christian
has
is
2 wins, brother. They gave him Tai Tuivasa.
true that. Yeah. Okay. So the wins. I feel like nobody won that fight.
And that's the thing too, is like, does Tallison actually have a quality win? Like, let's be real.
Not yet. No.
Yeah.
Really, again, stock dropping on all sides in the Tuivasa fight.
This is a guy who has no quality wins, yet he's getting an opportunity against Pavlovich. That's what makes me mad here. Is like,
But that's heavyweight though, brother. Like,
true,
that's that they're Jonathan Janice, always go back to that. They are trying desperately to get heavyweight to be something interesting.
true,
It's
100%.
hilarious that they think this guy is going to be it though. That's the thing that is crazy about that, right?
Big Tallison, man. He must be really popular in Brazil. I don't know.
Must be. It's the spider chest tattoo that does it.
It is interesting. It is unique. I'll give him that.
Sure. Unique is one way to describe it. All right. So who we both going with Pavlovich here?
We are both going with Pavlovich, because I am not taking our guy Tallison.
All right. Yeah. And, just to end it, though, Hydra making a very good point here. Pavlovich and Tom were both minus 105 in their fight. What a fall off indeed. Yep,
The mighty have fallen.
Come, be the man again, Sergey. I can't. Why is it gone? Anyway, whatever. I don't want to go back down the road. I'm just saying, it's like, I remember. I hold the candle for the old Sergey Pavlovich,
I hear you. Shout out to him. Hopefully he gets a big win.
Yeah, please. And then come back and be the man again. Do it. Do it,
Yeah.
Sergey. All right. Well, speaking of big men that need to come back here, Zhang Mingyang is fighting Alonzo Menafield, Atomic Alonzo Menafield. Zhang is 19-7. He is 4-1 in his last 5. His wins are over Anthony Smith, Ozzy Diaz, Brenson Ribeiro, and Tuco Tokos. That was on the road to the UFC. All of those were knockouts. His loss is to Johnny Walker. That was a knockout. Was on a 12-fight win streak before the Walker fight. All finishes, 9-fight knockout streak, and the previous 3 wins, 2 submissions, and 1 knockout in that streak there. Menafield is 17-6-1. He is 2-3 in his last 5. His wins are over Umar Sy by unanimous decision and Julius Walker by split decision. His losses are to Volkan Oezdemir, Azamat Mirzakhanov, and Carlos Ulberg, all by knockout. After his first loss, after his first loss, he has never been on a win streak longer than 2 fights. 2 losses, 2 wins, loss, 2 wins, draw, 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 wins, loss.
Wow. Yeah, this one, it seems a lot easier in my head, because Zhang Mingyang, first round destroyer. Alonzo Menafield, gets destroyed in the first round sometimes, you know? I mean, that's just how it goes. And against somebody like Olberg at the time, you know, it seemed stupid, you know, for him to, because I've talked about this a decent amount of time, you know, Carlos Olberg's got the left hook. You know, in the fight with Menefield had the idea, get past the left hook, blitz him on the cage, and you know, we've never seen him have to just go for it. And I think in that moment we learned a lot about Carlos Olberg, that he will stand and try. He's going to stand his base, you know. And he got the better end of Alonzo Menefield. Now, when you fast forward a little bit, he beat Julius Walker, I believe, is somebody else that he beat, right?
Yes, he has
Menfield.
a split decision win over Julius Walker.
And that fight actually made me a fan of Julius Walker, and I'm maybe thinking it's not as rightful because Alonzo Menefield, you know, he beat him, and it was a good performance for what it was. But we know what Julius Walker is now, so a decent-ish performance against him maybe isn't speaking to too much. But then you also think about what Volkan Oezdemir was able to do. Just walk in, like his emote says, there's no time to waste, man. We just come in and we get shit done. Zhang Mingyang is actually that too. So, excuse me, it's going to be interesting to see how Menefield navigates this, because he does seem to me as somebody who has a game plan for his fights. It's not always just run and gun. It's sometimes how it goes for him, but that's just how it ends up being. You know, I think it's possible that we get him shooting a takedown on Zhang Minyan, just like Johnny Walker did. Just change the pace. You know, just flip the script, get him up against the cage, clinch him for a little bit. Round two, now let's see what you got, kind of deal. But I think Zhang Mingyang is going to be able to just fend it off. I think he'll just stuff the first takedown. Menefield is powerful, and he's massive, and he's very athletic. But I think Zhang Mingyang hopefully is making, he saw how bad his wrestling was with Johnny Walker. Hopefully maybe he gets taken down the first time. First takedown's always the easiest. Second one, we start getting up, we start building our base, and then hopefully an elbow catches Alonzo Menefield. Just like I know Anthony Smith is a horrible example, but he left that dude in a pile of his own blood. You know, it only takes one clean elbow shot, and Zhang Mingyang throws them. At the heavyweights, you really don't get that too much when it comes to people who will just slice you open. That's normal. That's a smaller weight kind of thing. Yuri is somebody who would throw, you know, elbows like that, but Zhang Mingyang is he's got some good stuff coming, and I'm really excited for him.
I hope that he made the adjustments after the Walker fight, because the Walker fight tells you everything it's the blueprint for how to beat Zhang Mingyang. And if he just fixed a few of the things that led to that loss, then he really could be the world ender that he was already before that fight. Two things stick out to me. The wrestling that you described, of course, that, you know, needs to be something that is navigated for sure. But the element that led to the wrestling, I think, is the speed of Johnny Walker, which I don't think that Menefield has the same level of speed. And the other thing, which I don't think that Menefield is going to bring to the table, is, if you recall, the low kicks. The low kicks of Johnny Walker were on display in that fight. I think that they might have thrown Mingyang a little bit off of his game, maybe slowed him down a little bit more. Now, Mingyang also needs to work on his tank, because if this does end up going into later rounds, he did fold pretty early in that second round. So I'm hoping that there's some improvements there as well. But like, if he watched that fight back and just said, this, and this are the things that I need to work on, I'm praying that he did that. Like, I'm praying that that was exactly what he did, because Alonzo Menefield, like, he doesn't bring the dynamic approach to the fights the same way that a Walker would. Johnny Walker is a wily character of a fighter. That's why no one picked him to win, and he ended up winning, and everybody was like, man, the memester finally did it. It's like, yeah, well, there's a reason for all of that. Like, it worked to his advantage with a guy like Mingyang, who's a little bit more, you know, stand your base, plotty kind of guy with some really heavy hands. Menefield, slower guy than Walker, I would say. So I think that that plays to his strengths. Mingyang catches Menefield. Menefield knocked out in all of his three last losses. I mean, you know, Mirzakhanov, Olberg. I mean, that Olberg makes a little bit more sense, of course, now the champion. But, you know, Mirzakhanov is the one that sticks out to me the most. That's a smaller guy. So it's like, if you have a big guy like Zhang Mingyang, who is going to, you know, be right there in your face and you know, baiting you, hey, like, do what you want. Let's see what you got. And Menefield comes in and tries to, like, you know, play the wrestling game. I hope that he shored up those holes, because the power is obviously there. I got to believe that he's able to get that shot.
So you're going Zhang Mingyang?
I am. Yeah, definitely.
I love it. We're in lockstep for this main event here.
I know, for the main card seems to be, it's going to be interesting to see how the undercard goes. But yeah, main card. Well, let's see if we are in lockstep all the way through then, because the main event of the evening is, of course, Song Yadong versus Davison Figueiredo. Song Yadong is 22-9-1. He is 3-2 in his last 5. His wins are over Henry Cejudo by unanimous decision, Chris Gutierrez by unanimous decision, and Ricky Simone by knockout. His losses are to Piotr Jan by unanimous decision and Sean O'Malley also by unanimous decision. Last 4 fights have all gone to the decision. Last 3 fights have all been against former or current champions, and he is 1-2 in those fights. Figueiredo is 25-6-1. He is 2-3 in his last 5. His wins are over Montel Jackson by split decision, Chito Vera by unanimous decision. His losses are to Umar Nurmagomedov by unanimous decision, Corey Sandhagen by knockout, and Piotr Jan by unanimous decision. He is, of course, the former flyweight champion, and he is 3-3 after moving up to bantamweight.
Well, it's actually really interesting for you to note that the last 3 performances you said against Song have been against former champions.
Indeed, yeah.
That's what's key here to me, is because I have not necessarily been the biggest fan of Song Yadong, but I will admit that, again, when it comes to the Chinese fighters, they're very good all around. They have a very solid skill set, and they take the shit serious. They have good people across a lot of different divisions. If all of the people that he had faced in his last fights, were former champs, which is to be true, let me just double check and make sure. So Peter
Yeah, so
Yan, Cejudo, and O'Malley,
yeah.
these guys, where they were at when they fought Song Yadong, I would say are a level above where Figueiredo was at. Now, not all of them. Cejudo is maybe the singular level above where Figueiredo was at when he's facing Song, but Peter Yan and Sean O'Malley, these guys are right in the midst of their best time of their careers, kind of deal. Sean O'Malley not as much, but he's still winning. So Song Yadong getting good experience against the best guys in the division. I guess some people who had already matched up with Figueiredo, like Peter Yan, of course. I've never taken Song Yadong, I don't believe, and I think this is obvious choice for me because Figueiredo has proven that he's just not him anymore. And at bantamweight, he is not the same fighter, and he doesn't have the same sort of intensity and or willingness to try and win fights. It seems like he's just out there to get his show money, is what the fuck I've seen for the last few fights, and that's what's been pissing me off. But
Yeah, I mean that's really kind of goes to the same thought process that I had. That's why I had that 3-3 since moving up to bantamweight stat in there because Figueiredo used to be, I mean, Deus de Guerra down there at flyweight. He was a nasty flyweight in his time. And then he moved up and he got one really nice win over Cody Garbrandt. And everyone was like, oh man, this dude could really be doing the damn thing at bantamweight. And since then, it has just been incrementally downhill, just down, down, down. Had that weird time where his knee got tweaked or whatever. That was kind of something that sticks out as like what happened with that. Is he compromised? If we saw the fight with Montel Jackson, that was terrible. I mean, like, did not look great at all in that fight. Unanimous win over Chito does nothing at this point. Chito Vera is the guy that you should be beating if you're a bantamweight. Figueiredo is another guy that just like he's not the same fighter that he once was, and I think that for a lot of people he coasts off of the history. It's always very interesting to me when it comes to how people perceive fighters in this sport, because you've got people, and maybe they're the more casual fans, and I'm not trying to be too disingenuous with the way that I'm describing some of these people perhaps, but like I hear people talking about we got Conor McGregor coming back and people are, oh my god, Conor's gonna be back and he's gonna be, it's like the time has passed and you have seen like all of the stuff that has happened in between. Now, of course, that's outside the cage, perhaps, maybe not the greatest example, but my point is that people cling to a former version of certain fighters. And I think that if anybody is thinking that Deiveson Figueiredo is the guy that he was at flyweight, like, you've not been paying attention, to be quite frank. I mean, we've seen fight over fight, just a very painfully average fighter at best at bantamweight. And I think that speaks to that informs all that I need to know. Song Yadong might not be the greatest fighter in the world, but he is a guy who is going to go out there and get it. I mean, like, he certainly is going to try his hardest. Figueiredo just doesn't seem like he's out there trying. Like you said, he might just be in it for the paycheck at this point.
What I firmly believe is, because I've said this before about Davis and Figueiredo, it might have specifically been during the Peter Yan fight when he went to the corner. You could see in his eyes, like he just wanted to cry. Like, like I don't know if that's
Well, he
necessarily
was
what it
getting
was.
fucked up in that fight, though.
Exactly. So frustration gets to him.
Yeah.
He takes the shit serious, but like at a certain point, if shit ain't going his way, you can read it in his face. Like the coach is gonna have to come up with some killer fucking pep talk for this dude. I think Song Yadong has just the type of game and skill set that will break Figueiredo over 5 rounds. He will
And
break him.
that was literally what I was going to mention as well. This is a 5-round fight. If you think that Figueiredo is going to, because a lot of people would say, "Oh, Figueiredo with the grappling, he'll go in, he'll be able to wrestle him down, just start the grappling work, and it's going to be a all ground game." If you think that he's going to be able to do that for 5 rounds with Song Yadong, I think that you're in for a rude awakening, because I think that maybe that starts off, he might be able to do rounds 1 and 2 maybe. But by round 3, when that is not working and he has not secured the submission, which I don't think that he's going to be able to get, then it's just going to be shot after shot of ineffective takedown attempts that are not going to work. And Song Yadong playing the outside, popping him up. Song Yadong is fast, bro. Like, this is a guy who still has the speed. Like, you the Henry Cejudo fight, he was all over the place in that fight as far as like his movement goes. Like, he is a very dynamic mover in fights. That was the thing that bothered me in the O'Malley fight, was that he was moving very well, but not using it to his offensive advantage. Like, I think that with Figueiredo, he hopefully he has the wherewithal to actually put the offense on it. But by movement alone, I think that the wrestling is going to be negated. So I don't see many paths to victory for Figueiredo based on the previous performances that we have seen. Tyler Bet in the chat saying Song in over 2.5. I think that is prime time right there, brother.
Yeah, I really do like it as well. But and of course I'm taking Song, and after I listened, I think you're taking Song as well. But the last question that I have, and I know we did not take the King of Kung Fu earlier, but does the Kung Fu Kid live up to the mantle? Do you think he's going to end up taking on the King of Kung Fu name, or is Song Yadong forever just the Kung Fu Kid? Is he going to be the Kung Fu Man eventually? What's the deal?
He can graduate to the Kung Fu Man if he actually utilizes his striking to an effective end. That's the one thing that Song Yadong has been lacking his entire career. He's so great with his movement and his hand speed is so good, but he doesn't put the volume on. If you can do it 2 ways. You can either do power through knockouts and actually get finishes that way, or you can be a volume striker and attrition war your way to a victory with Josh Van style, 1,000 strikes on. He's just a guy that's like kind of in the middle on both of those categories. Like, you need to separate one of those and have that be your main thing. I wish he would pick one and do that, but it's like he's kind of just not super powerful enough to get knockouts, and he's not volume heavy enough to be the Josh Van style volume striker. So to pick one, and then maybe you can be the Kung Fu Man.
Yeah, 100%. But until then, we will certainly figure out if he's going to get a big win in his home country, on the main event. This is really big for him, I would say.
It's huge, I would say, as well. And I mean, especially after the O'Malley loss, which was a close-ish one, but O'Malley still ended up pulling out the victory, keeping himself semi-relevant, even though, as you said, we know that O'Malley's not the golden boy anymore. No questions at the press conference. So, this is a prime opportunity for Song to wake people up. It should have been the Cejudo fight. If the Cejudo fight didn't have all the weirdness in the finish, it could have been that. And then, obviously Peyton Talbot ends up getting that shine. So unfortunate. But yeah, this could be a very big notch in his belt. A former, like I said, he's 1 and 2 in former champion fights. This could be his opportunity to, to make that happen. So, make it happen. Go and make it 2 and 2 against former champions. And then maybe there's a little bit more of a name for you going down later on.
Yeah, I love it. I think he's got this one.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Did we pick in lockstep for the entire main card?
The entire main card, we picked the exact same pick. So if you want to make something different, I mean, here you are. But...
I mean, I know. I'm like, I can't. Now we're locked in. We got, we can't be out here tinkering and meddling over here. I mean, we made our picks. Hell but yeah. So I guess it'll come down to the undercard. May the best man win, brother.
Yeah.
And we will find out, of course. All of these fights are coming up this Saturday morning, very early in the morning. As I said, guys, make sure that you are aware. It is a 4 a.m. start time for this thing. And Chase, you're doing it live. You're going to be up for 4 a.m.?
Oh, yeah. I'll be live. Don't worry.
All right. Well, then there you go. You can watch along with either of us on our individual watch-alongs. I will be at youtube.com/@YamaShow bright and early. Well, not so bright, dark and early. And Chase, I know you can tell them where they can find you, of course.
They they can find me on youtube.com/@cpsmalls. And of course, this Saturday watching UFC. But if you guys did not know and you did not get the hint, tomorrow we will be opening more Topps UFC cards. And I have a surprise for everybody who is able to come and experience it with me. It'll be a fun time. Just everybody enjoy your day. You know, that's all I'm asking from you.
People, go to the stream, watch the card unboxings, the opening of these packs. I will be in the chat. This is appointment viewing for your boy. I've never gotten into a subculture this way before. Like, you know, this is a unique thing for me. It's very rare that I find new interests when it comes to, you know, anything like this. I never did Pokemon cards or any of that kind of stuff. This is really a first for me when it comes to trading cards. But I'm telling you, I have a great time watching these card openings. It's going to be a great active chat over there. So make sure that you get yourself there in the chat. You can hang out with me and watch Chase open these cards.
100%. Hell yeah.
Yeah, you can find me at youtube.com. Oh, I said that already. You can find me at Yama Show on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook as well. And of course, yamashow.com for your merchandise needs. That is Yama and last week's fights. Get yourself some last week's fights merchandise to support the channel and the show. We will be live for these fights. As I said, videos are on the channel right now as well. Make sure that you are checking those out. We have a stream clip of myself and Chase. We have a video about brand risk that we talked about earlier as well. So appreciate you guys for hanging out with us for this one. Thank you so much for the support, chat. You are awesome. We will see you in the next one. Until then, have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week. And as always, fight on.